Hey, this ain't a drill. Only time I'm playing is on the field. And when I'm on the field, no, I got mad skills. And you know we about to eat this a fast meal. Y'all gotta pay for this heat like a gas bill. We keep on coming back, so yeah, they mad still. 716 make them pay me some bad bills. Red, white, and blue like Superman, so you know we eating at the Super Bowl. Kill the competition, set up the funeral. Josh Allen catching all the shots you go for. We callin' blitz. Ready to start, we ain't calling no quits. I'm the #1 draft pick. A lot of y'all talk, but I ain't hearing it. Only listen to Keyshawn and his talk about the Bills dominating on the field. All our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill when we talk about the Bills. Dominating on the field, and our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill.
What's going on? Welcome back to another live episode of the Post Podium Podcast, home of the All Truth. Go ahead. I can't say it. I can't say it. Now, you know what? I'm not going to say it.
We'll let the fans decide.
We got I, in particular, have so much salt to give in this episode. It's unbelievable. Where's that salt shaker at? You got it.
Shake it like a salt shaker. Shake it like a salt shaker.
Go ahead and stack that bad boy somewhere high so everybody can see that joint, because it's about to go down. Listen, y'all about to get a treat. Kev, happy birthday, bro. It's going to be worth watching the show on your birthday, my man.
Kev's birthday?
Enjoy. Yeah, birthday, enjoy. Yep.
Oh,
what's going on, Rich? Yeah, so look. Oh boy. Woo! Let's start here. Let's start here. You heard what happened on the radio this morning. It's like
that's why that's why I get the salt thing out of here.
It's like the biggest news all around the city right now is Brandon Beane going off and being all entitled on Jeremy White.
No, I wouldn't say entitled. I would say he's defensive because he knows he effed up. He knows it.
I mean, it's defensive, it's arrogant, it's whatever you want to call it, belittling a radio show host in the way that he did. We've never seen that from Brandon Beane in a public setting.
It's the true colors coming out.
Right.
The true colors coming out.
Right.
There's chinks in the armor.
So here's what I thought was extremely funny about this, because first and foremost, he talks about how ridiculous the conversation of needing another receiver is because of the fact that they scored the most points in the league, and he had to include the playoffs. Yeah, you guys can just go. It's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say I was going to talk, and y'all go ahead, and then we all right. So you go ahead. You know, I'm just stalling so you can go through there you go. All right. Go ahead.
This is good work we do here. Even though you can see him in Junie's shot right behind me. All right. Anyway, so look, he gets into the Bills being #1 in the league in points.
So,
but he had to include the playoffs to do that, because during the league, they were #2. They weren't.
It's me. So
right, exactly. So then he goes on to say that this is not fantasy football, as if wanting good players on the team meant we only cared about it for the sake of fantasy football, not because we want to see the team be great.
You know what's funny about that, though, is what's not included in fantasy football? What positions?
Wide receiver.
No, it's not.
Oh, was not?
Yeah.
But every position is in fantasy football. What?
Those 5 hog mollies up front, right?
Offensive lineman. That's right.
What about on defense? Unless you're sadistic and play a defensive player draft.
I mean, that's what we did last season in my draft.
But most people don't do that. And what it is based on what? Cornerbacks, safeties, and linebackers to a degree, because interceptions are key, fumble recoveries. The fast guys they reign supreme.
Yeah.
But that doesn't coincide with what Beane and McDermott have been trying to shove down our throats for the last 9 years.
Oh no.
But you got to win the game in the trenches. It's all in the trenches.
Pause. He is rolling over it. Just accept it already.
Pause. It's all in the trenches. So
I'm gonna say with my chest.
You say it with your chest. Keep your chest in there.
Keep going, bro.
But no, I mean, you think about it. All they know is the trenches. They don't even know that they're good.
Yeah.
Because the defensive line is still in shambles. It's been in shambles. It's going to be in shambles. The offensive line, they looked into Deion Dawkins playing for 9 years. They looked into Spencer Brown being the guy that I hoped he would be when they drafted him. They looked into Osiris Torrance fitting into Cromer's system. They somehow now looked into McGovern being their center, but they got to answer 2 questions at center and a left guard, because the next year we might have this conversation again. What? Because we don't have a wide receiver, and now we don't have a center and left guard. So who's playing next to Deion Dawkins this time?
Right.
So I mean, That's just it's narrow-minded. Is bombastic. It's arrogant. It's just dumb. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And people on going on record is saying, I can't believe that people don't agree with this. I can't believe they had the gall to say no. And they said that somebody sat Jeremy White in the corner. No, they didn't. Jeremy White had a lot he wanted to say. Did you watch it or did you just listen to it?
I just listened to it.
Yeah, I went back and watched it again. So because I want to see their facial expressions.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's ready to go. But see, Jeremy has what, 3 kids, 4 kids?
Yeah, I think 3.
He got to feed them somehow, right?
Yeah.
And is JR going to keep him and Joe on the airwaves if they lose the Bills contract?
Mm-mm.
So guess what? If you go to Elmo's, get you some wings, he ain't son them. He did not son them.
Right.
He sunned himself because he looked like an idiot. He looked like a grade A ass. That's what he looked like on the radio.
Yep.
Getting on the radio tomorrow, I listened to your show. You're the highest man in Buffalo's most lauded sports program. You think everybody's going to agree with you? See, that tells you right there all you need to know. He thinks everybody agrees on. Clap it up for his bullish draft. Clap it up for all the little garbage signings he has. Clap it up for the way he talks. Clap it up because nobody opposes him. Why? Because they can't. We can't. We don't get paid.
Right.
I could take this hat out, tear this sign down, take your hat off, and get rid of all this stuff, and we still talk about this show the way you want to talk about it.
Sure.
So for him to go on that show and try to pull a boss move, bam, stop it.
Right.
Just stop.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, the most serendipitous part of all of this is after he gets off the show, ridiculing them and blasting them on their own show about how they don't need a receiver, Elijah Moore's in the building for a visit.
Yeah, right.
He came in for work. I was like, you just got done telling these dudes how you don't need a receiver because you scored all these points, and it was ridiculous to even have the conversation and entertain the conversation. But here you go, having another receiver come in. Then we come to find out when Brandon Beane was on One Bills Live that they were in talks with Elijah Moore before the draft. So what that says immediately is, we don't need to take a receiver in the draft because we got this guy waiting to see if we do something. Mm-hmm. And compared to all the guys that are in the draft, we like Elijah Moore better.
Mm-hmm.
So we got him on the back burner. We don't need to do nothing in the draft unless somebody that we just can't deny falls to us, which realistically is asinine, because if you're talking about a salary cap situation that the Bills are in where they're paying a quarterback big money for a second contract now, and you got to put stuff around him that he can win with. Not saying that he couldn't win with what he had last year. They got to the AFC Championship game. But the name of the game is continuing to get better, not to just rest on your laurels if you had success the year before. No business in America does that ever. If a Fortune 500 company is about profits, they're trying to get more every single year. That's the way it works. If they don't, then they got to figure out what's wrong and improve that. Right. And I can understand Brandon Beane having a desire to do that on defense. But if you're just going to completely ignore what got you there in the first place, which is your offense, then how long should this man have the job in general? I mean, he's taken this stance of he knows better than everybody else because he's in the building and nobody can do his job. Guess what? He's not the only GM that the Bills have ever had.
Yep.
Not at all. And I'm sure that there are other guys that people here can point to and say their draft picks have been a lot better. The only difference that exists between Brandon Beane and a drought GM is Josh Allen.
Yep.
That is his saving grace. That's all he has. He can bring that up in every single conversation and shut everybody down with one name.
He will.
Right? Now, here's the kicker about that. He uses Josh Allen as his trump card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a damn good one. But if Josh Allen is this great trump card for everything everybody wants to say, why do you still keep needing to try and improve the team? If Josh Allen is so great that you can just rest on the fact that you drafted him, why even bother drafting anybody else? Why put anybody else on the team to try and improve the team? The way you treat Josh is like he can solve all your problems anyway, right? So that's part of the madness in all this. And all day long, it's been inconsistency after inconsistency after inconsistency with Brandon Beane. He goes in his press conference right after the draft, gets asked by Mookie Hawkins, yo, Speed and strength is that the you know what you're looking for in the draft? Would you sum it up as saying, you know, you're looking for strength and speed? Babe, you can go by if you need to.
Yeah, you just put the camera on me sometimes. It's all. It's okay.
So if so as soon as Mookie asked him that question, is that what you guys look for? You know, would you say it's you know, speed and size and strength? I'm sorry, size and speed.
Mm-hmm.
And Bean goes, no, it's best player available.
Right.
Like almost in a way that just shuts down what Mookie was asking. Like it's not even, that's not even close. No, it's best player available. Right. And then he goes on One Bills Drive hours later in a puff piece where they asked him the easiest, most
Of course.
D-riding questions ever, right? And they ask him, Chris Brown asked him the same question. Oh, well, not exactly the same question, but he speaks to Bean's drafting philosophy in terms of you're looking for size and length, height and length, right? And Brandon Bean says what? He says yes. Just a clear-cut yes. So it was best player available when Mookie asked you, but when Chris Brown asked you in a puff piece, it's yes. You're right. That's what we look for. Inconsistencies all around the board. You want to talk about best player available? I'll give you best player available, right? Check this out. So everybody who watched our draft coverage saw me get extremely pissed off when the Bills did not draft Will Johnson in the first or the second round, right? And I went on with Rico on his day 3 coverage, and we talked a little bit about that. And one of the things that I said on our show, and I said with Rico, is the Bills could have easily drafted Will Johnson in the second round at 41. Easily. And it would have been justifiable. Why? Because they needed depth at corner, period. The fact that they brought Trey White back on a flyer and had to bring Dane Jackson back pretty much on a flyer, like, that says a lot about what they thought about their locker room. We just need guys right now that know the system. We don't have anything else behind Christian Benford. Let's at least get some guys in here that aren't going to kill us on the field and hope that we can get some more guys behind them to come up and compete, right? So instead of taking the best corner in the NFL in the first round, they take the I would say the fifth, sixth best corner in the draft. Hairston? Fourth. Okay. They take the 4th best in the first round, right? Now they trade up to 41. You've got a second shot at taking the best corner in the entire draft. You pass on that for a 3-tech, right? Now here's where it gets fishy, because Brandon Bean says best player available. I think anybody and their mama could look at the tape and see that Will Johnson was a better player, pound for pound, than TJ Sanders. So don't tell me it was best player available. He was the best player available at 30 and 41, period. Now, Brandon Bean did mention something today about injuries and how that plays a part, right? And I heard a lot of people talking to me about, well, the knee and blah, blah, blah. Listen, here's some breaking news that everybody doesn't know about what happened with Will Johnson exactly, okay? According to my sources, there was a report that came out, and for those of you that saw me on Rico, you heard this already, so just bear with me. There was a report that came out a week before the draft. It's a report that comes out every year before the draft. It goes out to all 32 NFL teams. In that report, for Will Johnson, there was the red flag that came up because of a procedure he had 2 years ago. 2, right? It was in his sophomore year in college at Michigan. And the procedure he had was to go in there and not just clean it out, but it was a kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
scope.
No, not a scope. It was like a proactive procedure that he got to try and just eliminate the problem for good, right? And the doctor specifically said, if this works, you shouldn't expect to have any more issues with the knee from here on out. If it doesn't, then obviously we got to look at other options. And what ended up happening was he had no knee issues for the next 2 years in college. Go watch the tape. Don't take my word for it. He played. His whole junior year, he played, and then his senior year, he didn't need to play. His draft stock was so high, he didn't need to play. Teams were telling him, you don't need to play. So he's healthy his junior and his senior year. He plays at an elite level both years. Everybody who was covering the draft expected him to be a top 5, top 10 pick, period. And because of a report from, let's call it basically 3 years ago, you dinged him twice as a medical unsurety. Okay, fine. For all of you that said that was an issue, cool. But here's where Bean and all of you that agree with Bean on that injury situation painted yourselves into a corner. How the hell do you justify Deion Walker being on this team if injury concerns were an issue? Even for a 4th round pick, if you couldn't take Will Johnson, the best corner in the draft, because of an injury issue, and now you go get Brokeback Mountain out here in the 4th round, and you think nobody's going to notice? What are we talking about, people? What are we talking about? You cannot tell me that it's apples to oranges. It's the same exact situation. And we heard Brandon Beane all day long talking about he doesn't need to play right away. If we were to play a game tomorrow, he could play. Will Johnson played for 2 years with no issues. None. Who you think's going to play better if we needed to play tomorrow? The guy who's still getting over a fracture in his back? Or the guy who hasn't had any issues with his knee in over 2 years?
I mean, to me, irregardless of that fact, this is the flaw in the draft board. This is the flaw. The flaw is it's bigger than the cornerback. It's bigger. What it is we stand by our board. We're aggressive. We get ahead of the curve. But you go ahead and you trade up 15 slots to get a defensive tackle that was not one of our needs at that position. You by virtue of doing that, missed out on guys at the 62 point, and you could have got your guy at 50. There was only 4 defensive tackles that were taken in the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
And there was only 2 defensive tackles taken before our original pick in the 2nd round, before we traded away. You didn't need to trade up for TJ Sanders.
Yep.
I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, I'm giving this draft a C. Maybe a C- because of the board work. Not because of the players you got, but because of the work that you did to get them.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with Hairston. I have no problem with Sanders. I have no problem with anybody they drafted. But the point is, did you really need Caden Prather at the end of the draft? You didn't. Did you really need Deion Walker? Because what that was, and I know this for a fact, what they did there was they screwed the pooch. They wanted Chris Paul. He got drafted at 171. We drafted at 172. You got caught with your pants down.
Wow.
So you didn't want Deion Walker. He was a fallback. He was the best on our board. But let me ask you this. If Paul was on the board and Walker was there, I challenge anybody to tell me right now that they were taking Deion Walker. He wouldn't be in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Because they love Paul. We know that. Now, if you fast forward to the beginning, you passed on Kyle Williams. You passed on, who was the other one? I can't remember who. It was Kyle Williams, and it was, I have it here. 2nd round. Jaden Higgins, Luther Burton, Jack Besh, and Trey Harris. You passed on all those wide receivers in the 2nd round by not trading back a little bit and getting. You could still got Harrison. Let's face it, you could have got Harrison in the 1st round.
Yep.
So what are we really doing? You panicked and you went and got TJ Sanders when you could have got Alfred Collins. Yep. Now we know Alfred Collins is not the biggest pass rusher, but the thing is, what did we ask for? We asked for a bigger body. We asked for somebody that has some kind of scheme dependency or scheme fluidity, who can play the 1, can play the 2, can play the 3. Yes, 2 is a position. They just don't talk about it that much. But what they did was they said, you know what? We want TJ. Why do we want TJ? What is TJ going to do when what's it called is not here anymore? What's he going to do when Daquan Jones is gone? Who's our 1 tech next to Ed Oliver? What did he say in his press conference that I could not stand? I think I sent this to you. He said, I know I'm not going to get the slides my way when Big Ed's over there. Ed Oliver's smaller than you. And as a dog that you're supposed to be, you should be saying, I want all the smoke. If they're not doubling me, I'm doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the guy. But see, that's the way they always operate. I was watching Dexter last night. I know you guys have finished it 3 times over by now, but I was watching an episode where the trilogy killer, I'll say because that was his name on the show, was sitting at the Thanksgiving table with his family, and Dexter was sitting there, and he said, "Oh, we're going to go on the table now, and everybody tell us what we're thankful for. One thing," and everybody went on the table, and nobody said him. And it drove him nuts. He went ballistic because nobody was thankful for him at the table. They named the house, they named that car, they named the food, they named the living, everything. But he said, nobody said me. That's Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody said me. Why is it that every time we get somebody in this building, every time we draft somebody, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be here. Oh, and they say, what is the thing about you that the team, I work hard. So that tells me right now that the Bills would not take a guy that just naturally gets it. Somebody that can just fly through it. They don't want that guy.
Yep.
They don't want that all-star. They want somebody that's hard working. They want somebody with a motor that doesn't quit. They don't want somebody that can coast over anybody there is.
Yep.
And they damn sure don't want nobody that knows they can coast over anybody that is. Because at that point, they're valueless.
Did you hear what Brandon Beane said about Hairston? He said Hairston doesn't play at a 4.28 speed, right?
Mm.
When you think about a player that has that kind of speed but doesn't play at that speed, what does that say about the player? It says he can't think the game at that speed. If a guy is moving slower than what he can actually move, he's taking his time to process. That's not a good thing for a guy with that speed to play slower. That means what's happening in front of his eyes takes him a minute to sink in.
You know what that means to me, though?
What?
It means that you had a hell of a track coach to get you to the combine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it means. I mean, whether you're processing that, it means the combine can only be taken with a grain of salt. See what I did there? Salt. But when you look at what the team really has to offer, they have nothing to offer. And when they lose a couple pieces, it's gonna be a smoke show. It's gonna be a big smoke show. And this goes back to what I say about Josh all the time. Open your freaking mouth. They laying you out to dry.
Yeah.
And do I feel sorry for you? Not at all. Because who can't see this?
You letting it happen.
You letting it happen.
Yep.
Who can't see this?
Yep.
Your agent knows this. Everybody sees this. And this was not what I planned on coming to the show with. But when I saw that interview this morning, I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going with this.
Yep. We got to go in on it.
We got to go in on it.
Yep. Yeah. So
Kev, that's my point. Everybody works hard. Exactly. So why is that a trait that I need to clap my hands in laud about?
Right.
To get to that point, everybody eats, sleeps. I tell Ken all the time. He's like, how do I get to the league? Well, first you got to eat, sleep, breathe, and defecate the sport of your choosing.
Right. That's right.
He's like, I don't want to do that. Well, you don't want to play.
Right.
that's the ins and outs of it. You don't want to play if you don't want to eat, sleep, breathe, and defecate the stuff.
Yep.
Haley, okay. Haley's not doing anything. Kev, you my guy and all, but it's not. That's not gonna happen.
I mean, listen, maybe we don't know. They ain't married yet.
But still, it's not.
If she, let's give it a couple years. Let's give it a couple years, right? Joe says when he said can't have franchise QB, wide receiver, running back, line. He just explained the Eagles, Ravens, Lions, and a few others. They took 2 upgrade weapons. Bills don't. Allen saves McBean, otherwise they be gone. That's exactly right. What's good, Alton? Yeah. So and that's kind of the point. I got upset watching the Packers take Matt Golden, and then later, two rounds later, they take Savion Williams. Like, they already had the deepest wide receiver core in the league, and they take 2 more.
Those heads would explode. They were like, yo, what do we do with all these?
Right. So here's something that Brandon Beane that said earlier today that I thought kind of exposed his mindset on the whole receiver conversation in general, right? When he was on with Jeremy, he said there's only one ball, right? Now, I've heard other coaches, including Sean McDermott, say there's only one ball, right? But then he said, if you don't, you don't want to have guys complaining. Who was the only guy that we knew of reportedly that was complaining about not getting the ball?
The guy that was getting open to get the ball.
Exactly. Steph Diggs. So what you're saying to me is you're so deeply scarred and traumatized by your interactions with Steph Diggs because he wanted to produce for your team and he wanted to help Josh Allen as much as humanly possible win games. And because he made noise about it, Forget all the production he had. Forget everything he did for you during the regular season and the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You just, it's the complaining that gets us. We don't want to hear the complaining. Here's the other part that bothers me about the macro of that thought process,
mm-hmm.
right? Because we hear constantly from people who defend Beane and McDermott when they talk about how much the team has won, right? Who was a part of that team when the Bills were doing all that winning the first time they went to the AFC Championship game?
What's his name again?
I think it starts with an S.
No, it can't be an S.
No?
Maybe you're right.
Maybe it's no.
Steven.
I don't think it was Steven.
No,
it might have been a little more hood than that.
Stephon.
There you go.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
right.
we do all of this complaining, and this is kind of a sidebar for my main point, but we do all this complaining about Stephon Diggs not performing in the playoffs, and that's why he needed to go.
Yep.
So we can think that about a wide receiver, but we can't think that about our head coach. I mean, it is his defense. Realistically, when you look at the entirety of this draft, it's primarily defense. Like, let's be honest, Caden Prather he's not going to get a shot. He's not going to get a shot. They brought him into place to play teams. Right? And my hope is that he goes in and shows out and forces them to have to keep him. That's my hope, right? Because the kid can play, but
impossible to afford. See, this is the thing. I noticed this already. The way they talk. They already have their mind made up where the person, because we have to figure out where they got. Who says this?
Yep.
Who? Correct me if I'm wrong. Who says before we draft him, we got to figure out where he fits? No. When I draft somebody with the talent to be in the NFL, I have to say this is a guy that compete to be a starter. We don't draft for depth. You don't. That's the recipe for disaster. What you have to do is draft the guy and let the Titans clash. Whatever Titan comes out emerges victorious is the winner. There's a few safe spots. Obviously, Josh Allen. Who else? Deion Dawkins. Who else? Christian Benford. I'm running low here. There's 3 guys that can mail it in.
Yeah.
The rest of them have to compete. Who are they competing with? But the thing is, when Keon Coleman gets drafted with the first overall Bills pick in the 2024 draft, he's already the X. Dalton Kincaid is already a pass catcher. This guy's already this. This guy does that. You ain't even see him practice yet. You don't know what they do on the field.
Right.
But you gonna gift this guy the job. And then now he's so set in cement that the next guy come in, he's his backup.
Right.
Guess what? That's not how it works. Because you never won and you wonder why. You get as far as you get to get not far enough.
Yep. They're pigeonholing players before they even get a chance to show who they can really be on the team and what they can really do. And to be perfectly honest, that was another reason why the Will Johnson thing bothered me so much, right? Because before, like you saw what he put on tape, and you did get a chance to talk to him before, right? And it's not like there were any reported interactions that were just completely negative, like from the player side. You know what I'm saying? But let me go through this real quick because I actually got a chance to look at the letter that was sent out to all 32 NFL teams, including the Buffalo Bills. And I'm just going to summarize it real quick, but it basically talks about the procedure that was done. And then the doctor himself kind of gives his testimony to say basically, if there are no more issues for a year following the procedure that was done, you can basically expect to be symptom free long term, right? And the idea of like if I'm a GM and I'm reading this, right, and I see these words, and then I go back and I look at the tape, and then I look at these words, and I go back and I look at the tape. I cannot logically reach the conclusion that this guy is not worth the risk at 30 overall. Like, I could understand if it was a top 10 pick or something like that. Look, even with that, you have documentation showing improving on top of what you've seen on tape for 3 years, right? Because Pop put in the chat that the procedure, here it is here. The procedure was in the offseason of his freshman and sophomore season. So he actually played sophomore, junior, and part of his senior year. Symptom free. right? But instead of trusting that, what did they choose to do? They chose to go with the feel-good guys. They chose to go with the guys that came in for the top 30 visits, right? A lot of the guys that they drafted were in for top 30 visits, or they met with them multiple times, Senior Bowl and a bunch of other places, right? These are the guys that they got a chance to sit down and talk to and feel comfortable with and fall in love with these guys to a degree, right? And I can understand that GMs want that to be a part of the decision. But every guy they drafted, including their first overall pick, is a guy that they had to feel that way about. Right? Because never mind best player available. We got to take that off the board. It's not best player available. TJ Sanders was not the best player available. Deion Walker was not the best player available. They weren't. We know this. We can look at the board. We can see who all the draft picks were at the time that were rated higher than these guys in more of a consensus, right? So, look, for where we've arrived at now, just in this conversation, I think we've clearly established that there's a trust issue that has been exposed, and that should be exposed. And we have a GM that would rather tell a radio show host that he's bitching about receivers. Those are his words, not mine. Excuse my French. Those are his words.
I think that's a accepted verb there.
Well, they bleeped it out the next time they played it on the radio. So,
oh yeah, I mean, they're confused. They didn't know what to do.
But the point is, you got a GM that's coming down on a radio show host that's asking a very valid question about how you value the receiver position, right? Let me just hijack that point for a second, right? The idea that the Buffalo Bills plan on making a living without Josh Allen having a real threat to throw to in a big time game, like we saw last year, none of these guys were a real threat.
You ain't convincing me. I'm already there.
You know what I'm saying? And Shakir is supposed to be the best of them,
mm-hmm.
right? He got 800 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I get that he was hurt. He had 800 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody eats. Who ate? Who ate?
The thing that kills me is Shakir is the one that ate, because he was fighting for his life out there.
Right.
More than half of his yards were yak yards. He ate.
Exactly.
He ate hard. Imagine if you would have gave him.
No, he had to chew and swallow hard.
He had a well done steak.
Right.
Pause.
Come on, man. Right,
no,
fine.
swallow your water. He was in the middle of the street. I saw it.
Pause.
Anyway.
Man said swallow hard. Pause.
All right.
So
fine.
yeah. So you got. No, we know. Well, no, we know. We're talking about in the passing game. Yeah, no. Cook had to eat, because outside of Josh, who else was there? There was nobody else. Then you go ahead and let me address the tight end too.
Sure.
I thought tight ends were supposed to be pass catchers. I thought tight ends were supposed to give you something in the pass game. You drafted Hawes, who had, I believe it to be 54 catches in his collegiate career. I don't think he had 600 yards in his collegiate career. So what does that amount to? 150 yards a season over 4 seasons at Georgia Tech. I know Georgia Tech is traditionally a run-heavy program, but the point is, he came from another school for, I think it was at Stanford first, and then he went over to Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need a blocking tight end when our tight ends are told to catch passes? Why do we need a guy that doesn't catch passes when we predicate our offense around Josh Allen, who throws the ball? You're not talking about he's going to be a replacement for who's the guy that left? Quentin Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Morris wasn't a blocker. Quentin Morris was a receiver.
Thank you, Mark.
Quentin Morris was a guy that you could depend on with his hands and his feet after the catch. He was not a good blocker. He was a small guy. So enter this guy and say, yeah, he's the Quentin Morris replacement. How does that work? And Spin's coming. Let's see. We have 2 pass catching tight ends. Tight end 3 is supposed to be a blocking tight end. Yeah, but we're trying to get rid of Dawson Knox, though. And he doesn't have to be a blocking tight end. He can be a tight end that blocks. That's the thing. If you're telling me you're only going to block, then we might as well just go what we've been doing and use Alec Henderson as that 6 tight end or that 6 offensive lineman again. That's the same thing. Why not? I mean, you still got Reggie Gilliam there. He can block, supposedly. He's a fullback. He's not a running back. Why is it that we got to typecast everybody into these certain roles for certain positions? It blows my mind. It blows my mind, and that's what Beane and McDermott do.
Yeah. Well, it's so I'll say this. I don't like the way they do it, because typecasting in a sense is more based on the perspective of the builder. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that the Eagles built their team, they typecast, they want, elite players. That's still a typecast. It's not a bad one in the way that, the Bills have kind of done it, like I said, pigeonholing players into, slots and positions that they aren't the most equipped to handle, right? Because there's a big difference between being able to do something and being able to do something at a high level. And the Bills have typecast players into roles just with the mindset of, well, they can do it, right? They said TJ Sanders can play the tech. Well, yeah, anybody can play one tech.
He can play 3 to 1, and the other one is 1 to 3.
Yeah. So just because he can doesn't mean he should.
Right.
And that's the point that we're all trying to get to. And what I think you're trying to nail home is that we cannot continue to just operate on hope. And that's what these Buffalo Bills have been doing with all of these players that they've been drafting. I mean, the fact that Deion Walker's on the roster tells you they operate based on hope. Well, we think he can get stronger. Okay, based off of what? I mean, we just heard we heard your boy Joe Marino talk about he ain't got no lower body strength.
He trashed him. Did you listen to what happened after they drafted him?
He flipped. Yeah,
about face.
Yeah. Not then it became, I think there's pros and cons. Like, all right, dude. But we see the same thing with Sal Capaccio all the time. We talk about that, how he was on WGR when he first got back from Florida and how he is now. It happens when you have an aspiration to be to be a part of the team or as close to the team as you possibly can. Right? I think it's hard to maintain a role like that if you're going to hold the team accountable. Because let's face it, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott don't want to be held accountable. The way they do their job and the way and here's okay. So the way that Brandon Beane explained his philosophy on the draft, best player available, what does that do? That squashes every argument about your decision making at the time.
Right.
And if you notice, he doesn't say he says we when he talks about the players they like. Well, we really, we had this player on our board and we really like this player and we thought this and we, right? He never goes I.
You
Why?
said we.
he never goes I. It was not a pause though.
There wasn't.
It's definitely not a pause. Okay.
It was just funny.
Okay. So, but he never says I. Why? Because when you say I, you put the onus on self, and he don't want that. He doesn't want people being able to single him out and point to him and his job that he's done with drafting the way that he has. And look, if your justification is Josh Allen from 8 years ago, I mean, how long are okay? I'm not going to call out names specifically, but I've had conversations with several people that talk about our stance on enough is enough, as far as people who think that the Bills are a successful team and we should just give them time to figure it out, right? Every single time I ask those people who want to defend Beane and Sean, how many years do you want to give these guys after all the years that we've already given them? Nobody answers. I never hear from them again. What that tells me, and this may not be their sentiment, but what that tells me is you don't know.
Right.
You don't really know. At the end of the day, you haven't even thought that far about it. In your mind, you're enjoying the winning, right? You're enjoying the Bills getting to the playoffs and getting to the AFC Championship game. Let me tell you something. and I think I've basically said this before already today. If you are the type of fan that just wants to enjoy the winning and the playoffs and stuff like that, and you think that's fun and cool, then why do you hate Stephon Diggs so much? You banged on him for not performing in the playoffs.
Pause.
Okay, fine. I'll accept that. Mark, where's the counter at? It should be like 3 or 4 or something like that right
somewhere. Now. I think we lost count.
That was 4.
Right.
That was 4.
So you get on Stephon about not performing in the playoffs and everything else that you know, and that was really the primary reason that people were giving. Well, he doesn't perform in the playoffs and he complains too much. Okay, well, look, Sean McDermott don't perform in the playoffs, and that's his primary thing that he brings to the team, right? It's not like the head coaching thing. He put people in positions to handle the workload. He just manages it. He's not going out there teaching defensive linemen their job. He's not going out there teaching receivers their job on a daily basis. He manages the whole program, right? What we really can look at Sean for is his defensive system and his crunch time game situations. He has the 5 QB sneaks in the AFC Championship game under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 13 seconds under his belt, and a plethora. Matter of fact, the decision to go for it against the Titans, where Josh Allen slipped and fell.
Let me get this first. Somebody, I'm not gonna read it all the way, but you know who you are. I'm gonna address you in as positively as possible. No, we're not being negative, but if you're okay with a GM going on a radio show and attacking the guys who are doing their jobs, and we're responding to it, it is what it is. If that's negative, it's negative. But it was wrong. It was a soft move, and it's something I'm not gonna stand pat and be quiet about. There's a lot of positivity we talk about on the show. We laugh a lot, but at the same time, I'm not going to be happy when this happens on the radio show. Because the thing like this, it's bullying because he knows they can't say anything back to him. He knows that they can't say speak what's on their mind. He knows it. So why is it that you go on that show and you start off with it? And Jeremy White giggles and he said, "No, let me talk." He didn't have nothing to say. He wasn't even about to interject anything. He just giggled. You can't do that. Why are you so defensive? Get off my airwaves.
Right.
Get off the red. Let's start over again. Don't listen to this stuff that hurts your little feelings. And if this show hurts your feelings, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm human too. I don't get paid for this.
Right.
And I'm damn sure not part of the Bill Gates organization and never will be for this very reason.
Yep. Kato, you ain't right. He said Diggs was a hoe though.
I mean, we know that.
Laura, I need you to understand. I'm not talking about you when I talk about all them people. Like for me and all the conversations that we've had about it, like I kind of set you apart. So it's not even, I wouldn't even take it like that. I wouldn't take it personal. And I know you answer. You're right. You did. But I'm talking about after you or outside of you, in a sense, nobody else has had the balls to have a conversation about it.
We're not suggesting you're a boss, Laura.
No. Yeah, what he said. So, and look, I'm gonna call it out, right? Because I have no issue with people calling me out. If you're gonna call me out, though, we got to have a conversation, right? Because I had a conversation like that with somebody in the comments on YouTube a couple days ago. You can call me out. I have no issue with that. If you have an issue with something that I've said, let's talk about it. You can understand my perspective. I can understand your perspective. And if at the end of that we don't agree, that doesn't mean people got to get canceled. It just means we just disagree. You know what I'm saying? And you know, to what you're saying, Doyle. Doyle says I hate the negativity of the show. I used to enjoy this, but I'm almost out on this BS. Look, we're trying to think critically on this show, and I wouldn't even say trying. We think critically. That's just what we do, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. If you want a show that just gushes on the Bills and loves everything that they do, we're probably not the show for you.
We still love you.
Yeah, I mean, we love the team. We want them to win, and during the season, we talk about all the good stuff they do, and we also talk about the bad stuff they do. So it's this show is more objective than most, right? And we take pride in that. It doesn't mean that we're intending to be negative. Right now, we happen to be talking about negative things that the team has done and things that we disagree with. But I don't know. I something about the way you phrase that makes it seem like it's a us problem and not your perspective on it. You know what I'm saying? I think it's okay to disagree. Moving right along.
Yeah. Okay. So Jalen, who would you want to replace McDermott with? I don't know. I don't even need to replace McDermott.
Question.
I don't need to replace him. Me personally, I don't need to replace him. I need to replace his train of thought. And that's where I've been getting after the last 2 years of doing the show.
Yeah.
I don't mind McDermott being the long-term answer at coach. I don't need him gone. I don't need another head coach search. I need him to get into a mode where we're progressing from where we thought we were at 2017 to 2025. Because back then we were not a Super Bowl team. We were not a Super Bowl talented team. We were missing things. But when I got to sit here and watch the Ravens draft and watch the Chiefs draft and watch the Eagles draft and watch Green Bay's draft, I'm like, yo, they just tooling on top of tooling on top of tooling on top of tooling. You're never done. You're never done. If this time next year you're sitting here telling me, I thought you said they weren't sustainable. The offense, they're still going to score 30 points a game. They're still going to be the top scoring team. Then fine, I'll shut my mouth. But you have to stay on top of that and make it better every year. You have to do that. And the thing is, I don't think they're doing that. They're like, oh, we were fine last year, so we're just going to run it back.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I'm tired of running it back. And why are you not tired of running it back? Not you, Jalen, but just people that support it and yell at people that ask the questions. Because that's how they did in the morning. They asked the question. You feel like you're set. And he said, I think Jeremy said, I told Sal I was going to ask the question and whatever. You don't like it. I guess that's what it is. But I'm going to ask it.
Right.
And he said, it seems that you don't value wide receivers as much as most. It's right. It's right.
Right.
I mean, how can you say he does when you do this? I think somebody called in this morning. You might have heard that. He said the average draft position for wide receiver on this team is a 5th round.
Yeah, it's like 4.3 or something like that. Is
the
average draft.
Yeah, it's like round. It's like I think it was 5.3 actually.
Well, yeah, but if you include I think he said if you include the trade for Stephon Diggs, it takes it down to 4.3.
Yeah, so I mean that's cool and all, but it's like, okay, you have to keep getting better. You have to keep getting better. Because this team is not asking who's the number 2. They're asking who's our number 1.
Right?
Is that not a problem for anybody but me? Every team out there says we got our number 1 guy, our headliner. But who's the second banana? We don't know. That's fine. That's what you go to the draft and find. But we're still wondering who the number 1 is.
Right.
That's alarming to me.
The number 1 is Josh Allen.
The number 1 is Josh Allen and Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir is your number 1 receiver.
Basically.
That's it. Would you say 800 yards, 995 yards, including the playoffs?
Yeah.
4 touchdowns.
So real quick, I just want to clarify what I said, Jalen. The reason, like, I don't hate the question itself, like the words of the question. I hate the sentiment that I've heard people ask the question with. And I'm not saying you asked with this sentiment, but in my experience, when people have asked us this question, they ask it from the standpoint of, well, who do you think is going to do better than Sean McDermott? Right. You know what I'm saying? And so when I was on with Rico, I asked him a very specific question. I said, do you think do you think Josh Allen is top 5 quarterback in the league? He said, yeah. I said, do you think he's top 2 in the league? He said, for sure. I said, do you think he's quite possibly the best quarterback in the league? He said, I could see how he basically said, I could see how you could get there. You know what I mean? He didn't, and I don't think I would like definitively say yes to that either. Yeah. But once we agreed on that, it's like, okay, so if Josh Allen is so great that he can put a team on his back and do everything that he's done so far, why do we think that the next coach that comes in can't do at least as good as what Sean McDermott did? Because realistically, Sean McDermott is not an offensive coach. He has nothing to do with the offense, which means he really doesn't have much to do with the I'm sorry, I can't say he has nothing to do with the offense. He tells Joe Brady what he wants, and Joe Brady kind of manages and molds the offense according to what Sean wants to see. But that's the extent of it, right? Mm-hmm. So if Sean is not the offensive coordinator, I'll just put it that way. If Sean is not the offensive coordinator, then why are we so worried about the job that another coach can't do better than Sean. I mean, another head coach can come in and do the same thing. But here's the kicker. The reason I say let's give another coach a try is not because he might be worse, but because he might be better. And I think this is the mindset that I've been trying to get through to people this entire time, which is we got to stop being scared of it could be worse. And we got to stop saying it could be worse. That is not the mindset that winners have. Winners don't come out of a game thinking, well, it could have been worse. We could have lost by 30. No, a loss is a loss is a loss. I want to stop losing, period.
And to clear before people say we won 13 games, we're talking about in the biggest stage.
Exactly.
We're not, the regular season is not where we know we win the regular season.
Yep.
We know we're going to win the divisional round, but it's I mean, we know we're going to win the wild card round, but it's a divisional round. It's the AFC Championship. It's the Super Bowl we've never been through. That's the part that keeps us up at night. It's just wondering why. Why is it never our turn? Why is it the same team that we've been building for the last 8 years that keeps kicking our chest in?
Yep.
Why? And if that's negative, then that's negative. But I want to know why. Why don't you want to know why? Exactly. Why is it every time we get to see the team, you're like, yo, it's over now. It's like when you get to, you play the game and you groove and you're doing good thing, and then you get to that, like, I can't ever beat this board. I'm gonna lose my last 3 minutes and turn it off.
Right.
That's what we do. Like, well, it was a good run before we play.
Right.
I don't want to be there no more.
Yep.
I don't.
Yep. Walter says since 2022, when the Chiefs traded Hill, they used 5 draft picks for receiver, either via trade or draft. Three were day 2 or earlier. The other 2 were
4th and 5th.
The other 2 were 4th and 5th round. The Chiefs don't even believe in everybody. Right. That's a great point. That's a great point. And look, we're not saying that the philosophy of everybody eats is bad. Mm-hmm. The philosophy itself is not bad.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
The execution of it is what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we scored the second most points in the regular season is not an indication of everybody eats having success. Okay. So when people get on us for talking about playoff success of the team overall, you and I have the standard of championships, mm-hmm. right? We measure success by the teams that win it all, because that is the primary measurement of success. When we talk about the greatest quarterback of all time, we talk about Tom Brady. Why? Because he's got 7 rings and nobody else has 7 rings. So if that's the measurement of the greatest quarterback of all time, then it should be the measurement of whether or not a team is successful too. I don't think there's any way around that, right? But more to my point of what I'm trying to get to is for those people that look at the regular season success and stuff like that, and I just kind of lost my train of thought. So basically the point that I'm trying to make is if your mindset about winning regular season games is that's what success is, mm-hmm. then how are you justifying anything after the regular season? How are you squaring that? I mean, there's little to no logic behind, well, we won 13 games.
Right.
Okay, and well, we got to the divisional round. We get to at least the divisional round every year.
We know. I'm present.
And
I'm present.
I ask this question every time. What does that mean?
At this point, nothing.
Well, we're a good team. There's a lot of good teams in the league. A lot.
Yeah, you're a good team, but you're a divisional round team. That's what you are. Just say what you are. You're a divisional round team. And
now here's the question we got to ask people. And this is the question that for those of you that deal with this disbelief from I hate to say anything belittling about those people who don't think the Bills can do anything wrong, but the question that I would like to ask those people is, I'm losing my train of thought like crazy now. This is nuts. What was I just saying?
You're talking about the good teams, not great teams, and you said something about belittling. So you
he said something about
you. That's what you're about to cook on that. But I mean, to the point, 'cause somebody called out that who was it? Somebody said Walter. Scroll down just a little bit. Well, I got the thing too. I can say, but
Yes, you do.
Walter, and with all that utilization of draft capital, their wide receiver room is still below average, but they're swinging for it. They're swinging for it. They're not sitting and worried about and being worried about what may go wrong. They're thinking about what may go right.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
all three of these drafts that I lauded, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Eagles, they could be garbage, utter horrible. But when you look at the people they took and where they took them and how they worked the board, is masterful. Because Savion Williams in the 3rd round, who thought? And you're looking at the Eagles taking a defensive end and this, that, and then a wide receiver. They're continuously getting better.
Right.
Our team we're still talking. I just rattled off. And Steve, we got you. I'm while we're doing this, I hope you guys can put in here on who on defense is our cornerstone. You got Rousseau, I guess. Rousseau and Christian Benford. Who else on that defense is safe? Who else can mail it in until preseason? Who? I mean, not even Ed Oliver.
Right. Yeah. Look, one of the other things that Brandon Beane said is that he wants it to be difficult as heck to make a roster spot.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think with the point that we've already established about how the Bills pigeonhole players into specific roles, backup roles, and stuff like that, that kind of destroys that point, right? So that's what point number 4, 5 of Brandon Beane talking out of both sides of his face.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really want it to be as difficult as possible, how the hell did Levi Wallace stay on this team for as long as he did in a starting spot? I'm gonna keep bringing that up. I mean, how in the world did you get away with DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp last year when there were guys you could have signed in free agency? And don't tell me you couldn't. There were players available. Hell, Jordan Poyer wanted to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So there were moves you could have made if you really wanted to. What it really boils down to is you didn't want to, because we see what you can do when you want a player. We see what you can do. You get these players for great deals.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want a receiver, you go out and you trade for one. Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
There's examples all around. Right? But you need depth at corner. And yes, I'm bringing it back to the Will Johnson situation. You need depth at corner. You draft Max Hairston, and then you wait until what? The 5th round, I think, is when they drafted Hancock. Yeah. You wait till the 5th to draft a nickel corner that's just really probably going to play more at safety than nickel corner, because you still got Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram on the team, right? So Hancock might not even make the team unless he's playing special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Then one pick later, you select Strong.
Yep.
A boundary corner. So now you come out of this draft with 2 boundary corners and 1 nickel corner. And you know what's funny about this, right? When I was when I was talking to Rico, Rico and Kev were like, nah, they're not gonna double dip. They're not gonna double dip at corner. And then they triple dipped that corner. Like literally, as soon as I got off the show to get back to working, they drafted Hancock. Right? So I bring this back up because I want to say this to everybody before we go on. We don't just make this stuff up. We knew the Bills needed corner depth, and the idea of the complaints about some of the players that we drafted and some of the players that we have on the team is this idea that the Bills are operating more with the mindset of, is this player a fit?
Yeah.
Then is he a football player? Beane said as much today.
Mm-hmm.
It's about fit.
Yep.
Then it becomes, can he play football?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then while they're looking at can he play football, they look at the measurements. And if the measurements wow them, then it becomes, okay, we need this guy. That's the tier of thinking. That's how it goes. He gave it all to you today if you're really paying attention.
Yeah.
Right? So this idea that we can overlook guys who are widely regarded as better than the guy you took. And they just turn a blind eye to it.
Right.
Yeah, but this is the guy we like. This is the guy we think fits us. Okay. Why do you think that process is so good? What has that process gotten you? Well, if you told me that we would have 4th and 5 with 2 minutes left in the game, ball in our hands and a chance to win, I'd take that. So you would take losing again? Or I'm sorry, not losing outright, but you would take being in a position where you're losing the game again? You would take that. Then Bean says today, well, if you told me that next year, we're going to be, number one in points again, I'd take that. Okay, I'm a little confused here because I thought it was about championships, not being number one in points.
Accolades, yeah.
Right? So the point that I want to get to now is Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have done a masterful job at giving all of you, well, not all of you that watch us because you guys are smart, but they've done a great job at giving all of the fanatics. I'll put it like that. All the fanatics, the fanatical people, the stats and the data and all this information that tells you how successful the team has been. But at the end of the day, what do those stats really say? I thought very, very deep about this before I created this point.
Mm-hmm.
These stats and these data, these pieces of data that Beane and McDermott bring up, they support this picture of team success that they've been trying to propagate for years of not winning a Super Bowl, right? But then I thought about this. Well, the owner comes from an oil background,
mm-hmm.
right? He's an industrialist. So what is one of the foundational aspects of industrialism? Measuring productivity by what? Numbers, right? If you've got the numbers and the data, the stats and the data to support a statement of we're a successful business because we've been profitable every year. We might not be the best. We might not have profited the most over everybody that's our competition in our field, but we've profited every year. What does that do for basically middle management? And we can say ownership too. What does that do for them? The name of the game and what it does for those people, the owner, middle management, and lower management, is it validates their position and gives them safety. You're not going to fire me if I can show and prove to you that I've had success at this job. If I can show you statistically and through all the data that I want to give you or present to you, mm-hmm. that we've been good. Because you can't say they've gotten better. They've been good. Mm-hmm. They've been consistently up here for 8 years.
They stopped getting better in 2020.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That gives me all of the foundation I need to say my job is safe. We scored the most points in the league if you include the playoffs. Oh, is that right, Brandon Beane? Sean McDermott. Well, our defense was, hurt in the divisional round here. Oh, okay. So your job is safe then. Yeah, you had to deal with injuries. I understand that.
Right.
Every coach deals with that. Never mind all of the other decisions that you've made up to this point. This is the problem. This is the fundamental mental problem that people are experiencing when it comes to holding this team accountable. They're drinking the Kool-Aid of, we had the most points in the league last season if you count the playoffs.
But the thing about that is that I like to point to is, if we know that, everybody knows that.
Which means you have to trade up to take TJ Sanders.
You have to. Because nobody saw that coming.
Right.
But this is the thing. See, and I mean, I'm not gonna go off about this, but when you look at Alfred Collins and TJ Sanders, both are fine men. Fine. Take whatever one is there at 50, 56.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were 4 of them that went in the draft. 2 went at the very end of the second round. That was Omar Norman Lott and somebody else. So if you wanted that pass rush guy, that tells me you definitely could have got Omar Norman. He was in for a top 30, so you knew who he was.
Oh yeah, you had to have liked him because you brought him in for a visit.
He led the nation in pass rush win rate. The nation. So what is it about TJ Sanders that you had to have? And like I said, I'm not poo-pooing TJ Sanders. I'm not. But my point is, what is it about him that you trade up 15 slots for, and then you trade up 23 slots for Deion Walker? You traded up 23 slots. Right. Go ahead.
I want to get to these
these
super chats. I'm sorry. Steve,
he's been a bad host.
Right. Steve said, I love this point. Steve says, no one gets mad if your wife is Wonder Woman and someone calls her ugly. It only hurts when it's true, not negative. I love that point. I mean, if you got to get defensive over something, that means to some degree you believe it too. Yeah. That's just the truth. That's the truth. Alton says, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being it's going to happen for sure, do the Bills extend James Cook? The answer to that is no. And here's why. If James Cook is taking such a hard stance on $15 million now, whether or not the Bills give him the opportunity to put up better numbers or not, if they don't give him the opportunity to do it and he doesn't, and he's not able to put up better numbers, he's going to be upset with the Bills and he's going to leave. If he does get an opportunity to put up better numbers because the Bills want to, show that they trust him and they show that they believe in him and they want him to stay, at the end of the season, he's going to want more money, and the Bills aren't going to want to pay that. And it'll be even more justifiable for James Cook to walk out the door then. So either way you go on this, James Cook is not going to be here either before the season starts or after the season starts.
I mean, honestly, I actually am leaning towards there's a chance. So, I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with anybody that says there's no shot. But the fact that they drafted no running backs, somebody did mention Darrington Evans as his replacement. I was like, okay.
They did.
I was like,
they really did.
I was like, wow, we've fallen way off the peach tree, haven't we? But I think it was Joe Marino. But the thing is, I think, and this is me being not negative, somebody get me. I think being in McDermott, somebody will give him some smelling salt, tell him to wake up. You're in the 21st century. Because you saw did you see Ashton Jeanty?
No.
He's the second highest paid running back, I think, in guaranteed money or something like that. It's something crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's the second highest paid something in running back. He ain't seen the field yet.
All, like, amongst all running backs? Wow.
He ain't seen the field yet.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's like, I think it's his contract's guaranteed money or something like that, because it's fully guaranteed because he got drafted in the top 10. That's not a position that running backs are supposed to be drafted in. It's supposed to be wide receivers, supposed to be quarterbacks, offensive linemen, people to get paid money. But the Raiders went ahead to screw the poo. So James Cook's like, you see that, Bean? I'm not unreasonable. I just gave you 16 tuds last year. I just gave you 1,000 yards the year before that.
Joe Marino said he's a home run hitter.
He did. Okay, Joe. I mean, and I like this dude, but we saw him play at Appalachian State. Appalachian State. Somebody in the comments said you guys wanted to draft from the big schools. They did. You're right. And like I said, I am not mad. I'm gonna get a shirt to say I am not mad at any one of the draft picks. I am mad about where they were picked. Yes. You saw what Chris Sims said. Sims said, finally the Bills did it. They finally got a man matchup corner. He's talking about Harrison. He said, yeah. It's about time that they did what they never done before. And I'm like, you damn right. Damn right.
The funny part about that is if Chris Sims is saying that now, what does that mean about Benford? For all those people, he's an elite corner. He's this. If he can't play man match to the degree that Chris Sims is not acknowledging it,
right?
And he's saying that the Bills just now got one, that says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not saying this to disrespect Benford. He's a great player in our system, but the philosophy or the design of the defense operates in such a way where it makes a corner's job easy. And I'm sorry, if your job is easy, you can be more productive in it. That's just life.
Mm-hmm.
So look, the Max Hairston pick, it's interesting because of I mean his scouting report says that he has the potential to become an elite starter.
Yeah.
And I hope to God that happens.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would love to see it.
Right?
I would love to see it.
I would love to see it too. I would be extremely happy to have one of the top 5 lockdown corners in the league.
That'd be exciting.
It would be very exciting.
But then he asked for $23 million. They say, no, we're giving you 8. You got to go. Right. It wasn't fair for you and fair for us. And now I'm just off over again.
Right. So that's kind of the caveat or the trade-off that you get, where the reason that I believe they do not go after these blue chippers, as they put it, is because eventually those guys are going to want the bag. And you're not going to want to give them the bag because you're trying to maintain all of the other free agents you sign so that you don't have to trust your draft picks to be the foundation of your team and come in and start immediately.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that rookies haven't started here before, but it's not as many as some other very successful teams.
Wait a minute. I just thought about it. We got to run a list. There was slander in the comments.
Okay.
Were you subscribed before you slandered us?
Oh,
were you subscribed?
Because if you don't subscribe,
you can't slander.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I messed up. Hold on. They don't know where to go to subscribe.
Yeah, you got to go there.
You got to go bang, right?
This computer's in the way. There you go,
bang.
right there.
Yep.
Over there. This way. Over here. Down there somewhere.
That's where you go.
You know, honestly, yeah. If you're watching on Twitter, you're watching on YouTube, come on over to our page as well. You know, we don't bite. You know, some people might say we're mean, and we're not. We actually joke around a lot. But if this is your first time watching, you just caught me when I was raw, because I really
what?
I really y'all disgusting.
Hold on now.
Y'all disgusting, both of y'all. But I really have a affinity for this kind of nonsense when somebody goes to somebody's place of business and attacks them. Whether you agree with Bean or not, I don't care. Yep. You know, that's not the forum to do it.
Right.
You know, and when you go on the show, when you know, that's not how you do it. You say, you know what? Me and the guys are, you know, you're not gonna say me, but me and the team, we feel good about this draft.
Yeah.
And this is why. Not I listen to you guys sniggling about me and now I got a problem. No, we grown men here. Right. And that's what he did. You started it up. Jeremy and Joe, they didn't expect that. They were talking about how they were tired because they were like, yeah, listen to y'all. Like, oh, now you gangster Bean? Now you
the one time in his life when he could go off on somebody.
One time when
is on somebody that can't do nothing
about it. Because basically he owns them, basically.
Yeah.
And it's not because they soft. It's because he literally owns them. So I have a problem with that.
Then he goes out, this would have been he came on there at 8:30, I think it was.
8:30.
And then right at what was it?
About 9.
No, when does One Biz Live come on?
They come on at what? Noon?
1 o'clock?
Noon? 1 or noon?
No, they go 1 and 3.
1 o'clock.
Yeah. They go 1 and 3. So right at 1 o'clock, he gets a puff piece on One Bills Live.
Mm-hmm.
2 dudes that work in the building.
You see his face on there?
No, I didn't watch it.
He was standoffish on there.
What?
Yeah, he was like his face looked like he was ready for war. You know you screwed up.
Wow.
When you want to and Tasker, I'm like, Tasker, you got more clout than him. What they gonna do? You go ahead and get you a cigar, get you a dad pop, and you go off.
I'm gonna tell you what probably happened. The PR team probably came to him and was like, "Yo, that's a bad look. You got to get on this next show, and you got to, you know what I'm saying." So that's probably why it seemed like such a puff piece, and that's why I call it a puff piece, because the questions were so easy. The questions were praising him for how good of a job he did, just kind of shifting the conversation and the mindset and the narrative back over into Bean's success in in drafting and the draft picks and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the sad part about it is it didn't work because everybody was still right at 3 o'clock.
National media.
Wait, it's national now?
It's national. Chris Sims talked about it. Rich Eisen talked about it.
Wow.
He named GR. He said local GR. He played it on there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I got to go home and watch all that.
And that's why I like derailed everything for this. So like I got notes. I'm like discombobulated because I had a rubric for what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But now this took over. Like this thing here is humongous. And like I said, negativity. You got me today. You got me full assault today. NACL completely today because it pissed me off. The fact that you going and it didn't even start that way. It didn't even start that way. They didn't mean for the interview to go that way. You came on with all the smoke. And so was it right? Yes, because you drafted And somebody said you didn't get the big roadblock from Florida. Which one? Because guess what? When you drafted Deion Walker, you got so scared because you didn't have Pooh Paul anymore. You could have waited and got Cam Jackson, the other roadblock from Florida, 6'6", 342.
Yep.
You could have got Yaya Black, who I haven't talked about, but I was huge on 6'5", 335. These are bona fide one techs. Whoever said it, Deion Walker's not a one tech. He's not.
No, he's not.
And I think it was Spin. And Spin, you know, we formed a relationship, mostly you and Aramis, but I'll just let it happen. But I'm 6'6". I played D tackle. He's 6'7", and he was 35 pounds heavier than I was at my heaviest.
You're 7 feet tall. Stop it.
Shut your mouth. But the thing is, there's something called, why is Spencer Brown not a great run blocker? He's high cut. That means his legs are way in the stratosphere.
Yep.
You can't fix that. I mean, you can mitigate it some, but when you're that tall, the gut is window dressing. His legs are never going to be big. He's never going to be strong in the base like people would want. That's why CJ West was the move in round 3. That's why Yaya Black and these guys that have shown you that they played a one tech on a high level at Florida. At Yaya went to, I think he went, I can't remember where he went now, but it doesn't matter. There's a bigger school too. But these are the kind of guys that you would think they'd be looking for when they say, I want a one tech. And that's why the TJ Sanders thing blew my mind, because I'm like, you told us that you wanted to fix this, which is the run game. TJ Sanders is not a run. I didn't know TJ Sanders just started playing football. He was a basketball player. And Judy, I'm gonna call Cap on this, because they said so when you played, would you play 5, you play 4? They're talking about basketball. He's like, I was more like I don't want to pigeonhole myself as a post player. I was more like a Nikola Jokic. I said, the hell you are? I said, the hell with that? No.
Says the Nuggets.
Right. But no, he said the team he played for in high school, they were a win-win team. His man wanted him to play. He said, I don't know about football. I don't play football.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so he came with the second year. He said, what about now? We suck. We're still bad. Yeah, I'll check it out. Junior year, he said, all right, fine. You wore me down. I'm coming out. We won 7 games. He's like, cool. But that tells you he's a ball of clay ready to be formed. That tells you he's still in the infancy of being a defensive tackle. And to say that he's a one tech is a disservice, because the man told you he don't want to smoke with the slides. You get all the slides, because guess what? Now I want people to be armed. And remember this. Remember I said this, please, because what's going to happen is when we get to week 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to hear people say Ed Oliver sucks. Ed Oliver, he's not worth money. Again, why?
$84 million that they're letting him just be out there on his own.
Be a one tech at 290 pounds.
Right.
It's not his fault that he gets all the slack. TJ identified that for you. Somebody in the notice, watch the film. He gets all the work. Not Rousseau, not Epinesa, not Vaughn, not whoever the hell else you want to mention. It's him.
Yep. That's
your star player in that D-line. So everybody hoorah about the pressures over here. Everybody hoorah about the sacks over here. There's one player here that gets all the slides.
Mm-hmm.
So when he does nothing again this year, I don't want to hear how he disappeared, how he was oblivious to everything, how he didn't do anything, how he was a waste of money, because they don't bring somebody in to make him available to do what he's best at, which is rushing the quarterback. Yep. So the only way to do that is for TJ to now be a better pass rusher, which I don't know if you can do that, because Ed is excellent at what he does.
That's right. Spin says, if we score 30 points a game next season, hopefully that can shut everyone up about drafting defense. Nope.
I told you it would shut me up this time next year, but I'm gonna be talking again in 2 years.
No, it won't. And here's why: because we scored 30 points a game, and what did it amount to? I mean, the Chiefs scored more, right? And it wasn't because, like, I'm not looking at that game and saying, man, if we had a better defense, we'd be all right.
Right.
I'm looking at that game and saying, if we had somebody for Josh to throw to on 4th and 5, we'd be just fine. Because at the end of the day, we had the ball last. So the side of the ball that we technically defense was right. Last on the field.
Right.
But with a chance to win the game on offense and score some points, we had a real shot. What we didn't have was a real bona fide can't stop this guy type of weapon to go to on that. And I'm sorry, there's not enough scheme in the world to give you that without having the guy. You need the guy. Then you can build a scheme that makes him so unstoppable that it opens things up for everybody else around him. And the Bills seem to have it in their minds that you either have the guy or you have the system, but you can't have both.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This idea that we're playing fantasy football if we think we can, have a great system and have great players in it at the same time. The reason you're saying that is because you don't want to have to pay for all of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's really what it comes down to,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing. And I thought about this too. And I want everybody to just start paying attention, because I'm not saying that this is what's happening, but it's a developing theory,
mm-hmm.
right? When Bean and Sean got the 2-year extension, it was just 2 years, right? If there was whole, just outright belief in the job that they've done, why wasn't it 5? You know what I'm saying? Their original contract was 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got an extension. And then they got another extension. So this extension that they got, and then after that, this everybody eats philosophy happens. Because again, that was all in the last 2 years. After Dorsey was fired, like that's right around the time, like the next year is when they got the extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming up on, I think they're going to be up for another extension in 2026. Right. So since that point where they got the extension, we started getting into this efficient offense. We started getting into, the fundamental philosophy of, we want guys to come in here and go to work and bring their lunch pail and work hard and blah, blah, blah. Not blue chippers and playmakers. We just want dudes.
Mm-hmm.
We want dudes that have a relative athletic score, and guys that are moldable, teachable,
right,
humble, yes men.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those are the guys we want to bring in. Why? Because they're not going to demand more money.
Yeah, because they're always going to be that trilogy killers.
Right.
Kids. Oh, we're thankful for you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Right.
I don't want to hear about opportunity. I'm taking this mother. That's what I'm doing.
Exactly. So the fact that they won't demand a lot of money kind of paints not that point, or not that fact in a vacuum, but all of this thought as a whole kind of brought me to the conclusion of, is it possible that Sean and Bean got the extension with a little precursor of, we're not going all out like we did with Von Miller. You got to make this work, and you got to be more efficient with the money. You got to be more efficient with the picks, and you need to be more efficient overall.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not doing $31 million of debt in dead cap hits. I'm not paying out of my pocket for signing bonuses for 32-year-old pass rushers. I'm not doing that again. I mean, that's the reason why you see guys like Joey Bosa coming in on 1 year, $15 million now with incentives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Joey Bosa's younger than Von Miller was when we got him. Why didn't we give Bosa the bag?
We're still paying Von Miller one.
Well,
that's the see, that's the thing, and no, I'm over here. You didn't see me on camera. I'm shaking my head with everything you're saying, because that's something I've said and you said, and it's true. I mean, you don't want to get in a situation, and they're learning from their mistakes, but somebody saying you can't do this no more. Might be Jim Overdorf. I don't know. He's the money guy. You got us hemorrhaging right now.
Yeah.
So we're Josh Allen away from oblivion. At this point now, you can't afford to pay James Cook, is what Jim Overdorf might be saying. At this point, that's his market value. You can't afford it. So, I'm not going to say Bean and them are out there to diminish his name, to make him look stupid, make him look greedy, make him look like cancer, whatever the case may be. But they say stuff and they know the following. They have a following. And I'm not going to say Bills Mafia, but that's a following. Not followers, but it's a following. Everything that they do, about. And he knows that if he gets enough of them to believe in what he's done, his winning in the regular season, 30 points. He's naming stuff that's it's not hard to do if you do things certain ways.
Yep.
But you didn't win a Super Bowl, because you can never say we got the Super Bowl with this. This is the blueprint for the Super Bowl. How do you know? You never did it. This is the blueprint for stardom. How do you know? You never did it.
Exactly, bro.
This is the blueprint. This we wish we suck. No, you don't, because you don't want them. That's a whole nother level of problems you ain't even level up to yet.
Yep.
So you say stuff to spin it to make people believe what you want them to believe, but you're not ready for all the stuff you think you are.
Right.
You're not a great GM. You're not. You know, Sean McDermott is actually a better coach than you are a GM, in my word.
I think that's true. I mean, we've seen what Sean can do with a healthy roster in the regular season against really good teams. We've seen him perform well against the Chiefs in the regular season. The Chiefs are still a good team.
Lynn still got some residual from Friday.
Oh yeah, I was looking at it earlier. Yeah, Buffalo did take position of need, but forgot to get the best player available for the position of need. I mean, look, the half truths, the half jobs of, you know, more so Brandon Beane than Sean McDermott. But here's the other part that I don't want us to forget. I don't want us to forget this, because we have to make sure that we remind ourselves of what Jim Monos said, which is the first, second, and for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, the third round pick are all guys that Sean and Beane choose by themselves. Mm-hmm. There is not this consensus in the war room or consensus in the room before they get to draft day, like Brandon Beane talks about with the first 3 picks. The reason they do the top 30 is for Sean and Beane to interview those guys and see whether or not they like them. That's what it is. Because at the end of the day,
nothing. If you look at this, he's in the back just doing this here.
He's trying to occupy himself. He's trying to occupy himself. But yeah, so at the end of the day, with these picks, you look at these guys and the picks don't make sense for what we see as a need for the team. Right. The reason I look at Maxwell Hairston, I don't care if he wants to be called Maxwell Hairston.
He's got to be good first, and he'll change over. Maybe.
Right. If he's good, then I'll call him Max. I'll call him Max for all that.
There you go.
But if he ain't no good, all right, Maxwell. Time for you to go, buddy. But yeah, so the reason that we look at you know, guys like Maxwell Hairston and TJ Sanders and we get frustrated with the pick, it's not because those aren't good players. They are good players. But when you look at what's needed on the team to either activate other positions or make other people's jobs easier, they don't care about that. Mm-hmm. What they care about is the glorified, fundamental, cliche philosophies that they feed us. It's about competition. It's about, you know, you're earning your stripes. It's about, you know, learning the system.
Let me stop you right there. Earning your stripes. I'm glad you said that, because they control who can earn the stripes.
Yeah.
And that's what people miss, because they think it's a competition. They think iron sharpens iron, all this nonsense. They control. They told you that in the thing earlier today. He said, we look at them and say, where do they fit? Because when I say, and I'm not a coach, I'm not the positional coach, especially, where do they fit? That's not my job.
Right.
Why am I doing your job? I'm paying you almost $1 million to do what? Because I'm doing it for you. So, you know, if you say, let's see, he's good, but he doesn't fit, because we already have Terrell Bernard. We just re-signed him. We don't need Pooh-Paul. We don't need Schlesinger, because they could be better. That would be bad for business, because we just gave somebody else the bag that we didn't need to.
Yeah.
And that's the thing they do. And I had an exercise we're not going to get to. It's not really an exercise, but I want people to look at the roster and say, without the money, who's safe? Who's safe on the team without the money? If you look, if you could cut anybody you want and everybody, and it means nothing to your cap, means nothing to your money, who's safe? And like I said, you name what, 4 or 5 people out of 53. What about the rest of your starters that they're protecting? Nobody could touch DeMar Hamlin. To your point, I know we talked about it, but you're right. Levi Wallace, nobody could touch him.
Yep.
Was Levi good? Not really, but we knew he was their starter.
Why is Taylor Rapp so valuable?
Because we like him. Why? What do you like about him?
Exactly.
You know, and that's the thing that it drives me nuts. Why? Yeah, he would rather have 3 C+ players over 2 A's. In this case, he'd rather not.
Oh, snap, Lindsay, what's up? I ain't seen you in a minute. What's going on?
I know, where she been?
Right.
And Buff enough. No, you're 100% right usually, but this last draft was kind of weird. He'd rather have 2 C+ players over 2 A+ players.
So here's the interesting thing, and I kind of I want us to like land on this point, because I to this point we've been talking for an hour and a half now, and all 2,000 of you, thank you very much for being with us.
No,
but all 2,000,
2,153.
Okay, I'm sorry.
4.
Right.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing,
honestly. For sure. But all you've heard so far is what sounds like hatred of the draft class, right? And it's really not, because the point that I really want to land on is, if the Bills were starting from scratch, this is an amazing draft.
Yeah.
This is an amazing draft. They got guys that can come in and be dogs day one. Right? Now, the reason I think this is such a problem with this draft class is because you got guys ahead of these players that are going to stop these guys from being able to get in early enough to get in-game experience. Right? One of the things that I've talked about, and players will tell you this too, there's nothing like getting game experience. You can't simulate it in practice. You can't think it in the classroom. There's nothing in the world that can prepare you for stepping on the field more so than stepping on the field.
And this is the thing that's going to happen. It's going to drive me nuts too. Max Harrison's 6 feet, 190 pounds. First time he gets mossed, oh, it was a horrible pick. And see, that's what fuels Beane and McDermott to go out and pay the old guys. Let's not let them develop. Let's not let them be young. Let's not let them be 21. Let's not let them learn on the fly. Yank them as soon as they mess up something. No, when you have a draft pick or a rookie or somebody that doesn't have experience playing in a situation like that on the level we play on, it's bound to happen.
Right.
And it's okay. It's okay to mess up. You're not going to do it again.
Yep.
Kaiir Edelman had his notepad. He wrote in it. If somebody burned me, I wrote it down. He might just not have been good enough to fix it.
Right.
But it's not saying that they can't. You got to give them a chance to get it back. You got to. 420, what's going on with you?
What's going on with 420? Where's she at? Where's her at?
She was it moved.
Oh, okay, okay. She said, wait until you find out who created the everybody eats offense. Human history again.
Jack, what's up with it? What confuses me is why is it so bad to want to give Josh another weapon? I get Beane sick of hearing stuff, but he hasn't proved anything in terms of right or wrong here. He's sick of it, which is fine, but he hasn't quelled it the right way. You quell it by saying, this is what he always says. I get the question. No, you don't. Address the question then. Answer the question. Because you don't understand. Because I think it was Chris Brown said, I asked this to you on Saturday. I'm going to ask it to you a different way. That means you didn't answer anything. You didn't even understand what I was saying. So when you say, okay, I get what you're saying about wide receiver. I know there's a need there, and we got Josh Palmer. Okay, cool. We don't really subscribe to that, but at least that's an answer. You decided that you thought was best for the team, best for us as consumers, is to go get Josh Palmer. I can accept that. Don't have to like it, but I can accept that. But when you go in and go off on a tangent about how it's not fantasy football, that means that you already built in to your argument a defense because you knew you were wrong already.
Right.
You had all weekend to figure this out.
Yep. That's it. You before you even announce the signing, it's like, I already know what they're gonna say.
Right.
I know they're gonna bash this dude, but look, and I said this on Rigo's show too. Josh Palmer, he is a good player. Right. I like the player. I like having him on my team because he's a guy that can separate. We don't have another guy like that outside of Shakir. We have 2 separators on the team right now. Curtis Samuel is not a separator.
No. And you know what's funny about this? Everybody is up in arms about speed, about this, that, and third. And I know that's you like speed. But when I think about separation, I ask myself, who are the best separators in the league? You got Cooper Kupp. You got Hopkins. You got
Thielen.
Yeah, you got
not anymore, but
you got who's the guy? Adams.
Yeah, Devontae Adams. Yeah.
You got Keenan
Allen.
Keenan Allen.
Yep.
Not one of those guys ran below 4.5. Not run over. Most of them were 4.6 plus.
Yep.
So it's not about speed. So what does that tell you? That tells you Keon Coleman could have done it, but it's just not. It's not his wheelhouse. You need to go out there and get somebody that can separate. And Joshua Palmer. I'm sorry, I'm going to start saying that. Max Harrison, Joshua Palmer. It's tough. Oh, Taneri.
Who?
You know, Matt was texting us Taneri the whole
TJ?
weekend. No, I'm saying Taneri just because.
Taneri J. Sanders.
Yeah, just like I was like, oh, he's a junior. No, that's just a middle name. Lockett. He's not
Yeah,
overly fast. He never was overly fast, but I mean, it's a skill set. It's a mentality. It's how you learn how to work with what you got. So they didn't have to go ahead and get the fastest guy, the 4.29, and I was okay with them getting, but I mean they got Caden Prather, a seventh round draft pick who's probably not going to make the team because he doesn't play teams.
Right.
You don't play teams. And Roy, I know you watch it, Roy, especially because I've seen you comment before, talking Buffalo, when Joe from Queens gets on there and he's drinking and all this. Mm-hmm. It's a crude show, but it's almost like us in the sense that it's not formal. They they just talk. They curse a hell of a lot more than we do, and they go and they argue with each other. I'm like, are these guys even friends sometimes? But no, the main host said, so he was talking about you got to get the fifth and sixth wide receiver got to be the teams guys, and Joe was like, get the F out of here with the teams. Stop talking about teams. Get the freaking ball through the end zone if you got to. Don't care about teams. Right. And that's where we are. We're trying to get talent to play the position that we drafted them for. Yeah. We don't draft gunners. You don't draft long snapper.
That's a good point.
So, yeah. I mean, why are we looking at, can this guy do? It doesn't matter.
Right.
If you got a special teams coach for Salt, he will figure out who can do that.
Yeah. I was very excited about Caden Prather being on the team. Having a 6'3" guy that runs a 4.4 that can run routes like he runs routes, even though he was a 7th rounder, I thought he could have went earlier. I mean, his skill set, there's value in his skill set as a receiver. Mm-hmm. And that skill set and that size is not something that we have in plenty of in the wide receiver room. Mm-hmm. Shavers is not a great separator. He's a big body receiver. He's got some pretty good speed, but there's a reason why he hasn't taken anybody else's job.
Right. Derek, no, I'm not saying we don't need speed. What I'm saying is that's not the end all be all. What I'm saying is if you look at what Keon Coleman is asked to do, he's supposed to be a downfield threat, the 50-50 ball guy. But what did Stephon Diggs do that was so great? He ran immaculate routes.
Yes.
He opens the field up for other people because he runs a precise route. He runs a surgical route. We don't have that. And when people say we need a route runner, they're like, oh, well, he runs good routes, but he runs a 4.5. Right. It doesn't really matter when you're looking at route run. If you're looking at a deep threat, yeah, sure. Because Coleman's not a deep threat. He should be a big slot. Yeah. But in the presence of what we have, I'm just trying to let people know that speed and route running is not synonymous all the time. That's all.
420 lady says, so you want a crybaby diva asking for the ball when he's not open? I think we've had that already. So let me start here. Because I don't want to.
Oh, got you. You said I was talking to Joe.
Okay. Receivers, and I know this from having conversations with players. The process they go through when they get recruited is, and I guess to a degree, I've kind of been through this. We've been through this with networks that wanted us to join their network. We've sat in presentation meetings where you and I'm not saying we got gushed over, but these NFL players, they're at the top of the you know what I'm saying? So when a team brings them in, everything is about the player. Everything is whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to see, wherever you want to go. Like they're catering so hard to these guys because they want them to want to be on that team. Mm-hmm. Right? And Bills fans know this from experience. We used to be on the edge of our seats when guys like Mario Williams came into town. And when Mario Williams chose to stay, the whole city lit up on fire. Like, what? He wants to stay? You gotta be kidding me.
His girl's on the plane. What does it mean?
Right.
Don't let him out of the building.
Right. So I'm saying all this to say that receivers are second in the league behind quarterbacks in terms of the most attractive position in the NFL right now. It's because of rule changes, and it's because of their connection with quarterbacks and the points they score together, right? the idea that these guys get chased so hard and praised so much for being as good as they are, when they come to a team, usually that team wants to do what? Get them the ball right away. Let's involve them in the game plan. Right? Let's get them integrated. Let's whatever it takes to get them on the field. Why? So that they can produce for us like they've produced for others. Right? We want to see that same production here. Why? Because we need the points, we need the threat, and we need the influence. Right? So if we're acknowledging the value of these receivers from that perspective, then we can't poo-poo the player when they get upset that they're not being used in that way. And that's not to say that we can't take issue with the complaining. How you complain is a big deal too, right? But here's the thing. Steph Diggs didn't put on a show like AJ Brown did. Steph Diggs didn't put on a show like Antonio Brown did. Steph Diggs didn't get up in front of a press conference and start saying what Devontae Adams was saying. I came here to win games. I came here to catch passes and get the ball. Right? We didn't hear none of that from Stephon Diggs. So relative to his peers, he actually wasn't as bad as we made him out to be. We just saw him do a few things on the field, and then Buffalo media kind of took over and the Bills let him.
Right.
Usually when it comes to protecting a player, if the Bills want that player to stay, or if that player is kind of ingratiated, he'll be protected.
Yeah, I think Jack had a good point here, especially when in the draft season. He said he's also digging himself into a huge hole and talking about being if Kincaid and or Coleman don't produce like they wanted to, and that will cause chaos.
Yeah.
The fact is there's no contingencies, and that's crazy. Yeah, that's the point. I mean, there's no contingencies, and you always have to have contingencies. We're talking about not quarterbacks. We're talking about positions that guys will get hurt more than likely. Something's going to happen, even as a tweaked ankle. You don't want more than Josh Allen run out of a tent with a concussion. Well, he didn't have a concussion because he doesn't want the backup to play.
Yeah.
You don't want Keon Coleman doing that. You don't want whoever right receiver one is doing that. You don't want, Deion. You don't want this to happen. You want to have a contingency where it's not a steep drop off. And they haven't insulated themselves against the need to have a steep a contingency if something occurs. These guys are not getting younger. And I saw somebody on Twitter. It was funny because somebody they asked, they said, what happened to the backup for Deion Duggan? What happened to the backup of Taron Johnson? What happened to the backup for whoever else? But that wasn't the point. The point was, he said, these guys aren't getting any younger. Somebody in the comments said, let me know when somebody does get younger. And I'm like, well played, because you can't get younger at all. But when people say you're not getting any younger, you need to think about that, Milano. You need to think about that. Where's his contingency? Ulafacio? Or are we still riding Buffalo Joe? Are we still going with Andreessen? Is he guaranteed to make the team?
Right.
Is Balen Spector going to be here? What is this? What are we doing? Because we are running out of money to go outside and buy somebody when we have.
Oh, they're about to buy a wide receiver now.
I know. And I think Joe Marino said that we only have, is he though, Spin? Is he? Are we sure?
Who?
He said Williams is Milano's contingency. Are you sure?
No, because
that's what they tell you. But
they're not. Sure? They're not talking about Dorian Williams like he's going to get a shot.
Yeah, especially not yet. No. And I think I think Joe Marino said under the top 51 we have like $2 or $3 million or something like that.
The Browns tagged Elijah Moore.
Oh well, he ain't coming back. He ain't coming here then.
Yeah.
So Bean's gonna be mad about that, I guess.
All right. I
didn't know he was tagged. Oh,
I thought he was a free agent.
Yeah, whatever. I thought you had to, I thought that was over. I thought the tag period was done.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care, because guess what? That just means back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could look and see who's available, but it's not gonna be pretty. Not gonna be pretty at all.
Elijah Moore was one of the guys that I put on my list in right before free agency for best fits for the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And here we are in a situation where the Bills easily could have just did what they did with Palmer and just signed this guy before the draft so that you're fine at receiver and nobody is getting upset that you didn't draft one.
Right.
You could have quelched all the anger, all the frustration and all that stuff about receiver. You could have knocked that right out by signing 2 younger receivers, 1 speed guy, 1 route runner, and I think everybody would have been happy because the idea was to get younger at the position and get some speed on the field. You would have done both had you just went and got Elijah Moore back when he was available before the draft.
Lynn, I apologize, by the way. I know how you feel about Spectator. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so now the Bills find themselves in a position where they're flirting with Elijah Moore, and the Browns are like, if we can get a draft pick out of this, let's get a draft pick.
Right.
What you talking about now, Buffalo? you know what I'm saying? Like that's the crazy part about this. You had a chance to do this before when the Browns wasn't even thinking about him.
Oh, Johnson. So is that you talking about Deontay Johnson?
Oh, Deontay Johnson. Okay. But how could they tag him? He wasn't on the team.
They said they signed him. They signed Deontay Johnson.
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe.
So Elijah Moore, yeah, because I
be.
thought Elijah Moore was visiting. That would be very awkward if you were visiting with the team
and, like,
and the other team.
Oh wait. Oh my bad. We gotta cut this short. I just got tagged. I'm out of here.
Right. Bills are like, what the hell?
What the hell?
Yeah. So I mean, look, if they finalize this deal with Elijah Moore, it gives them a guy who can separate, a guy with speed, and a guy that plays on the outside. The one thing that I hope the Bills do not do with Elijah Moore is say he's 5'9", he can't block. Because I can really see that happen.
That's why they wanted Tesla. That's why they wanted him so bad. And I could not. I mean, I heard Isaac Tesla the whole draft. You know, I heard it all leading up. Okay, let me check this dude out. Oh, he's a converted quarterback who really is developing, but he can block though. Gee, thanks. Great. You know, I don't need my wide receivers to block. I need them to catch passes. I need my tight ends to catch passes. And that's, you know, and that's the thing. I think it might have been spin. Don't crucify me if it wasn't, but I know you like to get on me. When you said we need a blocking tight end. Well, yeah, but that's when you have a multitude of weapons elsewhere. I need everybody on the field to be able to catch the ball because we don't have enough guys that threaten to catch the ball right now. And that's the problem.
Right. To your point, Roy, he says Elijah Moore's production hadn't really been stellar. I get it, but at the same time, who's your quarterback? No, because I mean it plays a really big deal. Like this is a guy that's had he's had at least 100 targets the last 2 years, right? 2023, 59 receptions, 640 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2024, 61 receptions, 538 yards, 1 touchdown. We know who the Browns have had at quarterback. It has not been that great, right? On top of that, this is a guy that had to deal with Jerry Jeudy being traded and coming in there and getting the usage that he got when Jameis Winston came in. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's not to say that he plays bad. He's a good receiver. When you watch him on tape, he can separate. When you watch him on tape, he's got speed. He has the skill set that the Buffalo Bills need, right? But when you compare all of that to the quarterbacks that he's played with, and you see every season he's been in the league, he's had at least 400 yards receiving with no quarterback, and he's probably been the number 2 receiver, if not the number 3 receiver on every. Well, actually, the Browns, he was a number 3 receiver, and the Jets, he was a number 3 receiver. He's been the number 3 receiver on every team that he's been on. And he's still putting up almost 500 yards a season. 3 of the 4 seasons he's been playing, he's been over 500 yards. 538 yards in his rookie season and in his last season. 640 last year.
Roy said Elijah Moore guy, Zach Wilson. What you got to say now?
You about to get banned, bro. I'm about to sit you down for a minute.
Billy D, I think Billy D looks like he's still in shape. So yeah, you might. He's ready. Give him a call.
Yeah. So look, for everybody who thinks we're so negative, here I am talking great about Elijah Moore,
and you can't because
because Roy won't let me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So look, I think if you do this, if you bring Elijah Moore in, it kind of, in a sense, completes your wide receiver room and thus eliminates the frustration over not having drafted a receiver. Even though they did draft one in the 7th round, the consensus in this room anyway is he's not really going to get the shot that he deserves.
Yeah. I mean, to Derek's point, Bond hasn't been convicted, but they won't sign on, and nobody will. I think they're going to wait for the legal process to play out before anything. And that's not just the Bills. I think the Bills are completely out on him, but I don't think anybody's going to touch him until it is closed out and they find out what the final verdict is.
Yep.
Obviously, it's not. It hasn't gone to court. It's not going to go to court, I don't think. But at the same time, nobody's going to mess with this and invest anything in this guy until they figure out what he's all about.
Right. Your overall, after we've extensively talked the way that we have about the draft class, what's your grade on the draft class?
I'm gonna go with the C minus.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a C plus, and I really sat down and thought about it. I mean, what hurt them was the fact that they whiffed on wide receiver around 2, moved up, and they passed on Tumaluau, they passed on Ezaraku, Alfred Collins.
June.
They passed on, I guess you can say, Will Johnson. They passed on Elijah Arroyo, Nick Scorton, Oladeo.
Mm-hmm.
These are all the guys they missed on by moving up into the 41st spot. And then they lost out on Omar Norman Lott, who does the same things that TJ Sanders does. Shamar Turner, who does basically the same things TJ Sanders does. And this is what they get when they trade back into the third. And rumor has it, as much as they talked to Landon Jackson, he wasn't the guy they really wanted. He was the only guy that was there that they had on their board at that position. I heard it was a wide receiver they really liked, really wanted, and that's when Kyle Williams, Tesla both went before Landon Jackson. And if you go into round 4, that's where the biggest crime was, I believe. When you're talking about moving up again for somebody with a bad back.
Right.
And they could have just stayed putting in, like I said, got Yaya Black. They could have got Ty Robinson at some point in the draft. CJ West, which is my guy, which fulfills the need that they're talking about for Deion Walker, which would be that 1 tech. I think CJ Walker could still play the 3-ish tech or 2 tech, which nobody talks about because it's not divisible by whatever you want it to be divisible by. But I think that CJ Walker was definitely the move to make there. So no, I would definitely have to give this a lower grade when I really thought about it, a C plus, only because of how they worked the board and where they got the guys they got and who was on the board when they selected. Now it's easy to say, I got a D tackle. I wanted a wide receiver, so I'm a diminished. But in this case, it wasn't even. It was a 1-for-1. You got a defensive tackle that does this, and then there's another defensive tackle where you were that does the same thing. So giving up stuff for a name basically. It's kind of egregious to me, so I had to pull it down a little bit.
Okay. I respect it. I think at the end of the day, for me, it's a B minus. Again, I think the players themselves are good.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the overall management of the draft and where they took the players was not good.
Yeah.
It was not best value for pick. It was them identifying guys that they liked and moving up to get them. And really the funny part about this, and I'm going to call myself out.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, let me sit down for this.
One of the things that I said before the draft, I think we were doing the mock draft the Monday before. So this would have been last week, Monday.
Yeah.
I said specifically, they need to just identify the guys they like and trade up to go get them. It's when we were having the conversation about trading up in the first round.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You see the guy that you like, you just go up and get him. Don't worry about the value. Don't worry about all that. Right. But the caveat that I would kind of insert in there, not that I need to defend myself, but to just clarify, because I don't want to be misconstrued as just being up here just blindly saying things, right? Mm-hmm. When you're gonna trade up, and we were primarily talking about the first round, but when you're gonna trade up, it should be for a guy that not just you like him, but a guy that is like that man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if the Bills would have traded up and taken Abdul Carter, I don't think anybody would have had an issue with that. You might have. I'm sorry. You probably would have. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Forgot who I was talking to. But the idea is we've identified the best pass rusher in the draft and we moved up to get that guy because we believe in that guy. It's the same exact thing that they did when they drafted Josh Allen. They believed in him. They identified him as the the premier guy that if we get this dude, we believe he's going to turn out to be all-time great.
Mm-hmm.
And they were right. Right? So if they did it for Josh, why is that the last time they've ever done it? Bean has already shown everybody, and he's so proud of talking about it every time somebody criticizes him, he brings up Josh Allen. If he's so proud of that move, why haven't they done it again to get somebody else to go and help that guy? Right? And so I think that's why this draft class is from us anyway. That's why it's going to get grades that it probably doesn't deserve. But again, it's more about the management of the draft and where these guys were picked as opposed to the guys themselves. Because if this was, like I said, if this was the Bills in the drought, and you mean to tell me you got a great 3-tech pass rushing defensive tackle in TJ Sanders, and at the same time you get another dude that's 6'7", 330, 340 pounds that can play 1-tech and he can pass rush. And the reason we got him in the 4th round is because of a little back injury, but we think he's going to be fine. I'd be ecstatic. I got my 1 and my 2 right next to each other. They going to be here for the next 10 years. Man, sign me up immediately. Right? Not only that, but man, we got a man match corner that's fast enough to stay with anybody in the league. Ran a 4.28. I would have fell over in my seat if we would have drafted a guy like that in the drought. I would have kicked somebody in the balls to draft a guy like that back in the drought. Right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that you really believe me saying that, like,
I believe it. I believe it. I know you two have done weird things. I can see it. Pow!
Yes.
And Roy said, "Come on now, on One Bills Live, get the Beans draft an A. Get on board." No.
Yeah. So
I will not conform.
So yeah, but I mean that's why I think it's tough to give this draft class, an A or A+ or whatever. It's just, unfortunately, it's going to be held against them. It's almost like there's nothing we can do about it because Bean is the one that put them in that position.
Whoa, I didn't see this. Did you see this?
No.
You want to read it or you want me to?
Go ahead.
I find it very interesting that fans are so supportive about a GM that has an outburst. But if it was a player that did those same things, people would call him a diva or unprofessional. Good Lord. Good Lord.
Say it again for the folk in the back, Walter.
Ooh.
That's exactly right.
That's fire. I'm glad I didn't miss that. That's fire.
Yes, that's exactly right. And this is why we do this kind of critical thinking show. These are the things that we like to bring out because the name of the game is objectivity and accountability. When you watch this show, that's what we're about. And we want the team to be held to that standard. We want the team to make moves with that in mind, right? If I'm an Eagles fan today, I'm not just happy that we won a Super Bowl. I'm happy that we've won 2 in the last 6-7 years, and we've been to 3. That's why I'm super proud and happy because we did it with 2 different head coaches.
Yeah,
we figured out that the one that won us a Super Bowl eventually got figured out by the league and wasn't good enough here anymore. All right, you got to go, man.
Yeah,
we're gonna figure it out with somebody else. Okay, new head coach, you came in. What you need? All right, we finna go draft that right now. We got you. Don't worry about it.
What I don't understand though is the press conference dynamic. Every time we have a press conference, it's either Bean,
you're not tripping, Laura. I'm sorry. You're not tripping.
It's either Bean or McDermott. It's not Bean and McDermott.
Yeah.
I went back and I watched the Chiefs press conference. You know who represented them in their post-draft? Their VP of player personnel. Who's our guy? I never heard them talk. So I watched the Baltimore when they had Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh together fielding questions. So I went and watched Kansas City.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I already did that. I went and watched the Eagles, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni together.
Yep.
Why are they together? Or why is one team sending out the guy that's in charge of getting the guys in this draft? We're the only team that is way up there that only had a GM talk. Who helped him? Who helped? Who was in the room with him? Whose decision was it here? Why did you do that? Bean don't know the answer, but Bean wants to control the answers given.
Oh, exactly. That's the main point. That's why. Sean teams have PR teams for a reason.
Yeah. And
they meet every day. Jeremy White, is it Jeremy White? No. Chopin Bulldog was talking about, I think it was Chopin Bulldog. It might have been Jeremy, but they were talking about the PR teams meet with, Bean and Sean every day, and they tell them what, people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Jeremy, because Jeremy brought up the point about, Josh saying, he don't watch social media and he don't listen to the news or nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, he says that, but then in the Dolphins game, when they were making that, when they put that emoji, the thinking emoji, and then Josh scored a touchdown and did that same move. Like, how did you find out about that, Josh? How you know that exists if you don't watch and you don't pay attention? So the point of me bringing that up is teams have PR teams for a reason. PR teams specialize in how to spin information and data to make sure that their client has the best perception possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've seen this in person because I used to work for a nonprofit. And so this is a real thing, right? So this idea that we have this perception of the head coach being, this down home, good guy, hard-nosed wrestler, tough-minded guy. That's what's propagated. And I'm not saying that Sean is not, and I'm not saying that anything that we think about Bean is the opposite, but we build these we don't, but these personas of them are built that we accept because of what a PR team puts out into the news.
Right.
And so now, if you're paying attention, everything that you saw about Keon Coleman last year was what? Him making jokes, him smiling, how funny he was, how real he was, and that's funny and that's cool and all this stuff, right? They paraded him around the city as the first pick drafted, and he loves cookies and bubble coats and he can get you a good deal.
Yep.
Right? And we ate it up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The GM himself at the end of the season starts talking about he's disappointed in his performance. Right? So you mean to tell me the guy that they paraded at the beginning of the season is the guy that they berated at the end of the season?
After what, 19 games?
After 19 games. His first year in the NFL. And we're disappointed. We thought he would, do better, blah, 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 however he said it.
Right.
But the point that I'm trying to really bring home and really like put the final nail in the coffin in on is this idea that there's a genuineness to the way that that Sean and Bean conduct their business. It's a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
And until we're willing to pay attention to the breadcrumbs and see things that way, we're not going to be ready to get rid of them. Right? I have another theory I want to run by you.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. Do you think?
And this has to do with the point that I just made. So I was thinking about the Sabres, and I think one of the morning shows, somebody was talking about on the radio this morning about how Kim Pegula reacted when people were questioning her about Kevin Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Adams. And she kind of got indignant in a similar way to what Brandon Beane did, making it seem like, we run the business. We know more about this than you do in that sense. Right. But then I got to thinking, well, if Kim Pegula was acting that way about the Sabres and Kim Pegula used to run the show here, well, that seems like a cultural thing from ownership on down. right? This idea that we got this, y'all stay in y'all place, y'all just pay for tickets and y'all just do whatever we want y'all to do to support the team, right? But then I had this thought, and this is really what I want your reaction on. Back in my first year of college, I worked for what was Wilson Farms back then, but it's now 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven bought them out. Originally, Buffalo had 7-Eleven. They left. Wilson Farms took up all those stores. And Wilson Farms was a subsidiary of Tops, right? And working for Wilson Farms, I eventually found out that Wilson Farms, the design of that convenience store chain was solely to lose money for Tops so that Tops could write it off on their taxes. And when I thought about that, I'm like, I didn't have a ton of business sense back then like I do now, but it's still like it still made sense. Like if I'm saving money on my taxes by having a business that continuously loses money, it's a win-win. You know, I mean, heck, if I have a store that profits during a holiday, that's just icing on the cake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the correlation to the Sabres and the Bills is, for as long as the Bills have been good, the Sabres have been terrible and longer. Right? And then I think about this reluctancy to remove Kevin Adams from his position. I don't know if they've done it yet, but there was talk about him taking another higher position to get out of being a GM, whatever. But it just seems kind of funny that the whole time the Bills have been, there hasn't really been a lot of shakeup with the Sabres. I mean, all they did was just kind of run it back in a sense with Lindy Ruff, right? So what are your thoughts on this theory of the possibility that the Pegulas may be letting the Sabres just run dry while the Bills continue to build in their fandom and build in the profits and the popularity? Because popularity globally has increased greatly for the Buffalo Bills. I think we are top 3, maybe top 2 in terms of NFL team popularity or brand popularity in the world now. So it's a very big jump from the drought days, right? But in your mind, is it possible that they could just be letting the Sabres just, grind to a slow death to kind of save themselves from having to pay out contracts for both teams to be good?
We'll see how they deal with the stadium situation, not the stadium, but the arena situation.
Okay.
Because after the fact of we need a new stadium, arena, whatever, you know what I mean. I'm just going to say interchangeably because I can't keep. I'm going to be 41 and Lindsay wants me to eat 41 wings. I used to be able to do that easily, but now I don't know if I can anymore. We'll see. I might try. And Lynn, no, I don't need a rocking chair yet or a recliner yet. But
I like this one. You need to go out and eat 41 wings.
Yesterday, I don't know if I can still do it, but you've seen me eat more than that.
No, for sure.
You've seen me. Yeah, we've
crush your 50 bucket.
Easy. We've had days. But yeah, no, I think.
What wing would you eat?
What wing?
Yeah,
I want to go back to Elmo's, man.
What's your favorite wing?
Oof. Well, that's a hard one because you hit a lot of places.
Yeah. I mean, I got BBQ chicken, that wing, the spicy galbi, Elmo's, the what I get, the Cajun barbecue.
Yep.
I'm not hot anymore. I'm not doing that. I like my intestines too much.
That's real.
So that's not gonna happen.
That's real.
Yeah, you be like, nope, can't do it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much anywhere in Buffalo. Buffalo Wild Wings, and no, a ranch. You think you insulting me? I think I dip. I don't dip. I don't have time for that. Dip my wings in nothing.
Sometimes I dip.
Bones, it seems like you're not liking how we talking today, but he says,
do we care today?
Well, not today, unfortunately.
There's no bones about it.
He says everything that you just highlighted is the exact reason that Beane and McDermott will never be let go because they keep us in that state of relevance. I would contend, sir, that it is not Beane and Sean that keep us in relevance. It is Josh Allen that keeps us in relevance. We've seen what this team looks like without him on the field, and I don't think anybody wants to see that ever again.
Yeah. No, and to answer your question, I got kind of sidetracked by being old and the wing talk and the recliners but no, I think the Bills were coasting. because the stadium, it wasn't full, but they could get people in their seats. But what they run into now is the fact that the league is getting ready to say, you know what, that arena needs renovations, and that arena needs. So, the county's saying we're not paying for it, but they're not going anywhere. How do you know? Because now you're speaking and saying the owner is going to take up some of the bill on that building, whereas they built it. What is it? 19 years ago?
Yeah.
No, 29 years ago. Because that thing was built in 96. So
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot how old I was. I went 10 years ago. But
right,
yeah.
Then, right. Peterman here. That's life without Josh and Tyrod.
But yes, I think we have to see what they do with the team, how much of a commitment they put into the team by what they're going to do, where they're going to play. Or are they just going to say, sell it and move it out of here? In Buffalo, you do whatever you want with what you can. So no, I think these two teams have been self-sustaining because they built the cycle, they built the machine with the PR teams. They sold a dream, and now people believe the dream, and we're waiting for the dream to come to fruition.
Yeah.
As long as there's no extra monetary risk to them, they're gonna let it be status quo. So the business sense, yeah, I can see what you're saying. I get it. And I could see where they would let the team just meander and flounder as long as possible. But I think that's going to come to a head soon because of the financial obligations to the arena that they're about to have to go through.
Okay. Just check this.
Oh, Walker for keys. Come on now. But you know what you can do though, honestly. 2,376 people in his just viewing right now. And if I haven't completely pissed you off, and my comrade and completely pissed you off, go down our channel. Give us a like.
I'm sure I pissed everybody off
probably
at some point. Some point today.
I even pissed people off, and I usually don't do too much of that. But go to the Post Podium Podcast channel, because we did have a show where we had some issues we couldn't get on the major airwaves, so we had to do it on our own channel.
Yes.
So if you don't want to miss us, if you want to contribute and have these kind of conversations twice a week at least, go to our channel and sub too. You can watch this on Twitter as you do now. You can watch this on YouTube or anywhere else you can find us. But we would like you to be locked in with us, so you know when we're going on. Oh yeah.
I actually just revamped our banner on our channel, so when you go to our channel now, we got our show times right up at the top.
Look at you go.
Mondays and Fridays, 8 p.m. to 6. I'm sorry, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Look at Roy. Roy, I pissed myself off. We know.
I would switch that off with on. I'm sorry, Roy. I had to do it. I couldn't resist, man. I couldn't resist. Lynn says Job Ronson.
96, I was 20. I mean, not too. I mean, I was 12. So, we were probably the same height. We're probably the same height. I would almost guarantee you that. I might have still been taller than you. All I might have got you because I was 6'5" at 12. So I don't know.
No, Spin, you tried. There was a couple of comments. I was like, oh, he trying hard today. He trying real hard today. He said, I'm slacking today. I don't even think I attempted to rant out of Aramis yet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
He did try. Maybe he was being honest today. He just thought we pissed him off, so he was getting at us. So he was like, I got to throw something in there.
Right. Bean already got to me.
No, I appreciate it, Lori. Lori, you already know. Guys that are on both and support us from day one, we are eternally grateful for you guys. And we want everybody else to join along on the ride. 2381 on this show right now. Go ahead, give us a like.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, look, it's free. It don't cost you nothing. If you like anything you heard and you've been here for a decent amount of time, that helps. I mean, any little bit helps. We just want your thumbs.
Give us the thumbs.
Right. Give me your thumbs.
What I do like about the fact, huh?
Don't say it like that.
Why?
Which one? His or mine?
It entices the people. That's when I say it in my sexy voice. Give us your thumbs.
That ain't sexy. That ain't sexy. That's demonic.
That's demonic. But
demonic, bro.
What's funny about what's unique and ironic and great about the show is that even when we're negative, it's because we're being genuine. We're not coerced by anybody. We're not owned by anybody. We're not told what to say.
Yeah.
We do what we want. And I'm going to talk to all you guys. I come here 2 times a week to talk to you guys, honestly. And Lynn, you already know. After the weekend, you're definitely locked in because you were going through it, especially on Friday. You were going.
You had to get out of here. Like, all right, guys,
I'm out of here.
Y'all have a great night. I gotta go.
But Spin, you already know it. He said it's hard. I disagree with a lot of the overreaction and not drafting wide receiver and going on defense. At the same time, I agree wide receiver was a real need and we should be addressed. You know what? And I'm not mad they didn't take a wide receiver, believe it or not. I'm not mad they pretty much went all defense. That doesn't bother me at all. Like I said, the only thing that bothers me is who was there to do what they said they wanted to do when we picked. You know, they identified their guy TJ Sanders, but guess what? What did you identify about him you like? Was his mom fine or something like that? I know he offered pizza. You know, what's like I really need to know what the differentiation between TJ Sanders and Norman Lott and going back further when you talk about
TJ. Listen, no. Oh, I get it. Yes. Stop crying. Listen, is your mama coming with you?
I'm telling you.
I just need to know.
Need to know before I tell you what I tell you.
Because she is.
Who are you bringing?
It's all good, baby.
He's on the board.
Oh my gosh.
Damn, Billy D was 5'8" at 20. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, Junie's 5'8" at 21.
There
so,
you go.
Hey,
That's a solid size.
you got company. You
solid.
good.
My mom's 5'8".
Correction.
You ain't helping nobody. You ain't helping
5'7".
nobody. Golly.
I'm an insured.
Is this payback for Junie ruining the Nuggets game for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you know what? All right. It's okay.
I didn't even watch it. I'm definitely not watching that now.
Right. So
Yeah,
real quick, I just got permission to read the last two sentences of this report from Will Johnson's doctor. Now, again, for everybody who didn't see us during the draft coverage, the reason I'm bringing this stuff up is because there's a very big contradiction in the communication from Brandon Beane about a player who is in the draft who's injured and their decision-making process and the relation with all of that to the mantra or the mindset or the philosophy of taking the best player available. Okay. It reads here, in my experience, and this is the doctor, this is the letter that went out to all 32 NFL teams. Everybody had access to this information. They could then read this and then watch the film and talk to anybody else, coaches, players, parents, grandparents, friends, cousins, whoever, to verify this information, right? It was readily available. So it says, in my experience, a patient with this particular knee injury who does well for more than 1 year following the procedure, there is a good chance he will remain symptom-free long-term. Okay. Now, this is the guy that performed the procedure telling you, like, this procedure is designed to work. Excuse me. Designed to remove the issue, period. Right? From what we've seen on tape, it looks like it worked. Right? So again, just I'm trying to make this all as crystal clear as I possibly can, that there are things going on behind the scenes with the Buffalo Bills that are the opposite of what they're telling us. And this is not us making it up. This is not us taking making a choice to perceive it a particular way. We're presenting you with the factual information. This is all stuff that has happened, right? And there's other information that I get from, what happens behind the scenes that I can't always reveal because of the nature of it. But based on what I hear and what I know and the way that the Bills operate, their draft picks, and I relate for those of you that are just joining us, I related this earlier when we first started the show to what Brandon Beane said earlier today, which is we get guys that we like, right? Then after that, he qualifies that by saying, these guys, these are guys that they got to be football players, right? And then after that, he qualifies both of those statements with saying, and, if they have the size or the speed or whatever, big men help you win games, or big guys win you games, or however he said it in the press conference. Excuse me. Like all of those are confirmations of a particular mindset that we now see he goes into drafts with. And it's not about best player available. Mm-hmm. It's, we met this dude. We like this dude. We think he'll be a good fit on our team. Can he play? Okay, he can play. Okay, all right, cool. Oh, he's this side or this size, or he ran this speed. Okay, that's even better. We like him. Let's take him. That to me is not the mindset of someone who is going all out to win a championship. That's the look of somebody who enjoys their job. Not that he shouldn't enjoy his job, but enjoys his job from the standpoint of he doesn't want to take any unnecessary chances. You don't want to involve any risk that I could end up being, looked at as missing on a pick or whatever the case may be, even though you've missed on several first round picks. Mm-hmm. Several. Like, this is the part I don't understand. Like, anybody who's defending Bean at this point in terms of his draft prowess is only praising him because of Josh Allen.
That's it. And the late round draft picks that are really scout driven.
Exactly.
And just real quick, absolutely not. No, I'm not. Not even close.
Yeah, there's a line developing now, and no, we're not on Bean's side. Holy cow, is he really?
I was gonna say that. That's why he got the Prince complex.
He got Napoleon complex. Bean is 5'7".
He's way down there.
Holy cow, Junie, you taller than Brandon Bean, bro.
See, now if he was 5'8", and he'd be cool, but he's 5'7".
I'm 5'7".
No, you're 5'8".
No, I'm 5'7".
Oh, snap.
All right.
Well, you wait on there. I'm sorry, dude. I can't backtrack now. I said 5'8" and better was cool.
Right.
5'7" is weight. So Billy D, if you're not 5'8", just take it as you're 5'8". You're 5'8" because you said you're 5'8" when you were standing those shoes, those Uggs you had the other day.
What shoes I have on?
Man, I'm trying to give you 5'8". Just go with me here.
I'm 5'7", Keith.
Damn, he said that with his chest.
You were a Godzilla at 12.
I was
12. Explain that, brother.
I can't explain it. What I can't explain is how I stopped growing at 12.
Well, I mean,
no, Keith.
I never had a growth spurt. What happened?
I don't know.
I don't want it now. I don't want it now.
You did have it. You just had it earlier than
I had it in the womb.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess so.
Yeah.
This man came out the womb 7 foot. He is 9 feet tall, guys. He is 9 feet tall.
Well, that's a lot like what Kenyon is dealing with right now,
yes,
too. He's super tall.
Which is funny because I went to church with T on Easter. Mm-hmm. And she's walking, I'm walking up because of how you leave, you got to go. So this guy is standing next to me. He's like close to my height. And she's like, I hate both of y'all. Like, why? She's like, y'all tall. We get home. She's like, you are tall, aren't you? I'm like, I guess she said, you ain't tall to me because, you used to. We know each other for 20 plus years. Like, you don't seem tall till I see you with other tall people. I said, that's the rule of basketball. You're always tall till you see people amongst people that are of their peers.
Yep. Oh, my God. That's it. I want to get to this comment by Roy. Says, not taking a wide receiver is like it's like a thunderstorm watch instead of a thunderstorm warning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Look, the reason why the wide receiver train and the obsession over wide receiver is such a big deal is go look at the AFC Championship game, 4th and 5. Who are you throwing to? Who can you depend on to make a play and get open to get the ball when you need it the most? And everybody eats is great until you run into moments like that. The Bills all season long were not in a moment like that. They were able to defeat teams with their scheme and not with any one singular player consistently, right? So it worked to a degree schematically, but once they got to a position where a team kind of figured out how to negate that with a blitz and fool the either the protection or the quarterback, one of the two, right?
Yeah.
It negates everybody eats because the scheme is not going to work. You don't have time for the scheme to take position. So in those moments, you have to have a contingency plan. And I think that's what we're talking about when we're griping about not having gotten a receiver in the draft. Where's your contingency plan? What are you going to do? And I had this question before they asked in the morning on the morning show, but I'll give them credit for it. What'd he say? He said, I wonder if Bean would ever be willing to be a guest on this show. I wish he would.
He definitely would not.
I wish he would. Bring yourself in here and tell me I'm bitching about anything.
Right. I ain't even say nothing yet. Watch your mouth. And then who said, oh, Laura said, you hear what happened this morning? Bean would Hulk out so fast on PPP. Yeah, he be out of here. He be gone.
Yeah.
He would just walk out. He wouldn't even. Yeah, he wouldn't even. Nope.
No,
He
well,
would not
she's
be
saying
safe.
he would Hulk out in terms of he'd probably be more aggressive because we're
He would try.
Yeah, right. He would try. He
You
would
see,
definitely
you
try.
see
He would not leave here.
two men with fitteds and one with a
Unharmed.
do rag on. He gonna sit and mind his business. That's what he gonna do.
It'd be 2 Hulks on this show. Hold on, what did you say? What? Oh, you
Look here, brother.
Right. I start transforming. What did you say?
But yeah, no, I think maybe she meant walk out, but maybe she did mean Hulk out. I don't know. But either way it goes, I guarantee I would have been quiet.
Oh, not at all.
And I'm not coming at Jeremy White. I hope
Nobody's
Jeremy
quiet.
White knows you got allies out there.
CTV,
Yeah, that's weird because I like sometimes when things like that happen, like the Sal Capaccio thing when they said they got into it, and I went to the video to see their faces because Sal wasn't on; he was on the audio. But you know, I like to see what are because you can't hide your reaction, and
Right.
especially when you're radio, you're not used to being seen.
Yeah.
So it's pure. And when did you hear how he ended it? God, I wrote it down.
I wish you think we get in trouble if we pull it up?
Absolutely. I'm not playing, but did you see how he said, like, I mean, after he said, he said, when Bean got up, he said, well, he's like, okay. He said, as the kids will say, he chose violence today. He said, oh, we're not here to play fantasy football, but we're not here to be belittled either.
Exactly.
So cheers.
Yep.
And that's it. We could be the most negative Nancy to you guys. They could be intolerable, but we're all human.
Yep.
We're all trying to relay messages. We're not getting paid here, but we're trying to one day. Yep. But
be nice if we could have a radio show.
It'd be nice. and we'd have this many people listening to it. Yep. But the thing is, somebody said he wouldn't go on Soap Bulldog and do that because they'd be giving him. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah, Show would not take
Show was not taking that.
Nah.
No. And let's see, Silas said 4th and 5. Josh lit a protect.
Yeah, I wanted to react.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So look, I'm not saying it's on the receiver as far as why that play didn't work. What I'm saying is having a bona fide threat at receiver on the outside that can win one-on-one matchups and get open alleviates the pressure as the biggest issue on that play. Because if you got a guy that can see, like he's smart enough to think the game and can see this might be a blitz. If it is a blitz, this is my hot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I get to this spot.
Mm-hmm.
I give the quarterback a nice spot to throw to, and that's it. First down, done. That's the kind of elite thinking and elite playmaking ability that only the better receivers in the league have.
Mm-hmm. And
And if you don't have a guy like that on your team, you're going to suffer the consequences that you suffered in the AFC Championship game. So all I'm saying is, though, having a good receiver like that on your team serves as a contingency for when your scheme doesn't work out. Josh Allen is the universal one-up for if the scheme doesn't work. Why? Because he can scramble, he can shed sacks and tackles and stiff arm guys and either run to get the first down or he can throw all the way down the field. There's no place on the field he can't throw to, even when he's on the run. So he's the ultimate trump card for if the scheme breaks down. Well, guess what? In the situation he was in on 4th and 5, it was the perfect blitz call for that play.
right.
He had no time to react. So what did he do? There's nobody open. I see a guy that could come open. I'm going to throw it to a spot. If he gets it, great. If not, it is what it is. Right? And I'm not saying that was exactly his thought process, but imagine if he would have had a bona fide number one receiver out there that can get open on that play and get those 5-6 yards. And then now it's first down. Now the Chiefs are very defeated at that point because they just called their best defensive play and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because not only can you not stop Josh, but you can't stop this guy on the outside. At that point, I know how players think. They're going to start to think, okay, we got a real problem now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're not gonna accept defeat and just give up.
Right.
They're gonna fight, but that thought process starts to creep in a player's mind, and they'll tell you if they're being candid. They'll tell you that those thoughts do creep in your mind at that point. If you gave your best call or if you gave your best shot and it didn't work, you gave him your best punch and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got a problem here.
Yeah,
we got to figure something else out, Coach. We got to do something.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's when everybody start trying to give ideas and stuff like that. That's how it works. That's why giving Josh that kind of help is so necessary at this point. And this thought process of, well, we were good last year, so we're just going to be good this year.
Right.
How do you know?
You don't.
The statistics will tell you that usually the team that was number one in offense the league before, that don't happen 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Teams figure it out. Why? Because they watch tape. Last year was the first year of that offense that we showed the league. That's why it worked. And that's what I tell everybody when they get so hopped up on well, everybody eats worked. We made it to the AFC Championship game. Well, guess what? The Bills did the same thing in 2020 when they unveiled their air raid offense. They took the league by storm because nobody had seen it. So now we're a whole year later, a whole offseason later, teams are not only building to destroy our defense through the run game because they know we don't care about stopping it. Mm-hmm. And then they also are now building their offenses, or I'm sorry, their defenses to contend with this everybody eats stuff. They already know they can take away the seam.
Mm-hmm.
They did it all season long last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll deal with that. We'll put some man cover corners on you and make sure your receivers can't go nowhere. Put it all on Josh. Shut that run game down. We good. It's like this idea that the offensive line and the run game is so elite that they can just run on anybody. They did good in the first half of the Ravens game. But what happened in the second half? They shut it down. Why? Because teams are able to make adjustments when they see what you do. Mm-hmm. That is a primary example of what happens to teams every single season, game in and game out. Teams adjust to shut you down. You have to have playmakers and guys that supersede the adjustments from the defense. You have to have guys on the field that nobody can account for, whether you game plan for them or not. They just destroy your game plan. That's why you call them playmakers.
Yeah. When
there's no play to be made, they make a play.
Yeah. I mean, a producer, Billy D, gave you some credit. He said you would have hit Bean with the pause.
I sure was.
He said, I sure was. And yeah, I mean,
if you didn't like it, then deal with it. Cry about it.
That's right. Cry about it. Cry 2 tears in the bucket. Y'all know the rest of it. Yeah, no, I gotta say, Steve is on the mark there. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna fall on their face yet, but the odds are, when somebody can identify and a way of stopping lesser than talent, it's hard to adjust when you don't have that marquee player that can take over. And I believe, and this is going to get me either canceled or not. The person that called us negative, I hope you're still here. Probably not, but hope so. I think Keon Coleman is that guy. Honestly, because I taught it up last year. When the play broke down, Keon knew how to get to an open space. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact that Josh, I'm looking at the tape like, oh, damn, he was open. He does know what to do when I'm flooding out. Mm-hmm. He knows what to do. So now maybe, as opposed to throwing Hail Marys to Khalil Shakir all the time, maybe he'll be like, Keon, somewhere over here. I know that route broke off there. He's coming back to me. Here's the ball. And you'll see his numbers go up.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about having a hard, honest conversation with this guy because he didn't do what he's supposed to be doing when he's not supposed to be, when he can't do what you said he's supposed to do. Everybody can't do what you want him to do.
Yeah.
And that's very fair. Keon is not bad at all.
Yeah, I'll second that, because one of the things that I reported last year when we drafted him is, that people around him will tell you he thinks the game at an elite level.
Mm-hmm.
He has an elite wide receiver mindset to the way he studies the game,
mm-hmm.
the way he approaches the game, and the way he approaches his body.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The way he works
mm-hmm.
at being the best, right? So while he may not be that quick twitch guy that can, shake every corner and stuff like that, he's going to figure out a way at the NFL level to be successful.
Yep.
And that's what you want in a playmaker.
Yep.
That's a playmaker's mindset. So
mm-hmm.
yes, I 100% agree that Keon Coleman can be that guy. We just got to give him time to time and opportunity, because he's got to get targets too. We can't just keep back shouldering him all day long,
right.
And we can't pigeonhole him into these roles where he's just going to be a downfield 50-50 ball guy. You got to give him a real shot to be your number one.
He's much more than that.
I wanted to get to this one real quick. Silas, I think you're trying to start an argument, dude. He says Kincaid dropped the ball. They did beat the defense. Look, Josh threw it to a spot that was open where he had 2 receivers running to that spot. He wasn't throwing it to Kincaid. There were 2 receivers running to that spot, right? And I think I forgot who it was. It might have been Knox that slowed down because he saw Kincaid diving for it, or whoever the other receiver was that was running to that spot slowed down because he saw Kincaid was about to get it. But that's not what a good contingency plan looks like.
Right.
Throwing up a Hail Mary heave hope ball is not what you get with an elite number one receiver on the outside.
Right.
An elite number one receiver on a, like you said, I'm always trying to start. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, this is why I don't read half your comments on the show. I'm kidding, bro. I love you, man. But yeah, so I disagree with that. I don't think it had anything to do with Kincaid dropped the ball. I think it had everything to do with you didn't have a singular guy that you could trust in that moment, and the way Josh just threw up the ball that high. You don't throw up the ball that high to a guy you trust. You zip that bad boy in there. And there wasn't enough time to do that. There wasn't a guy that he saw open fast enough, so you heave the ball. Somebody gonna make a play. That's it.
Yeah.
Spin says the play was designed to go to Kincaid. He just had to throw it early.
Possibly. But it's still
a broken play.
Yeah, still the case remains the same. He threw it to a place that Kincaid wasn't at yet, and there was two guys going to some place, and he threw it early. Yeah, but the thing is, what if you had a hot route? What if James Cook was out there? Oh no, what down was it? What down was it? Was it fourth down?
It was fourth down.
Oh no, he can't play after the second down, so he wouldn't be on the field.
No, definitely not.
No.
You need the pass catching running back out there.
Yeah, you need
the guy whose blocking percentage is worse than James Cook.
Yeah, you need that. That's what you need. But whatever. But the thing is, if you have Ty Johnson out there, you should have a hot route contingency. 4th and 5 that's called situational awareness. I think you said that earlier.
So what you're saying is they suck. Not necessarily. But go ahead, bro.
But no, I was gonna say, you gotta have a contingency. That ball at 4th and 5 in that situation should never been thrown. It just should have never been thrown.
Yeah.
I don't have a memory to remember everything in photographic time, but I can tell you there had to be an outlet that wasn't that for a play on a team of a Super Bowl caliber team. I refuse to believe that was the best they could do. And that's what we're going back to. That's what we're saying.
This is probably going to get on you guys' nerves. I got one more bit of information on Will Johnson I wanted to get out to. If you can't tell by now, I was very butthurt by not getting that guy, especially when he fell to 30.
Before you do that, can I
sure.
It's either one of you dudes, Butch from East Side, can't stand. So you're saying you can't stand us? No, we're not Butch from East Side.
Wait, who said that?
Cato. Are you saying you don't like us then? Because no, yeah.
Oh no, no. He, you know what? Sometimes he's on point with his points. Yeah. He's observant. I will give it to him. He knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he's a little rah-rah. Sometimes he can be objective, but I think his point today was kind of like right down the middle. You know what I mean? It wasn't rah-rah. It wasn't completely objective, but he made a couple of good points that I liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, we are not.
No, unfortunately, I can't take that. Also, before you get into it, that pass to Samuel, I remember that. That was a bad throw. It was a bad throw. Had he put that ball in a better position, he would have turned that ball up. Samuel would have turned that ball up. And you're right. There was nothing but green ahead of him. That's why I remember that play so vividly. Yeah. And they said on the broadcast it was a bad throw. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Real quick, Silas, I hope you're right, man. He says, in all seriousness, Josh slid the protection the wrong way, and KC set that play up all game long with Mike blitzes and from similar looks. Palmer is going to be exactly what y'all are asking for. Look, again, I hope that's right. I really hope that's right. Steve Lynn says, actually, the outlet on the opposite side was open with the running back, but because the rush moved Josh, because the rush moved Josh so fast to the opposite side, he couldn't see it or throw it with ease in time. Yeah, absolutely. I gotta get a tube of the H.
I think you need some preparation.
What? Because I'm butthurt. Okay, I get it. My bad. A little slow. It's late in the day. Jeez, we've been doing this for 2.5 hours already.
Well, we just did 2 5-hour shows. This is nothing.
Yeah, right. These are gonna feel like 5 minutes now.
Yes.
All right. So
sorry, Junie. We're almost done.
Last little. Yeah, really killing them. We going out. We going
No,
out.
I know.
We going out to eat after this.
Promise.
Right. I gotta give him something to look forward to. Otherwise, cameras ain't gonna be moving at all. He gonna be.
No, they not. Everything gonna be shut off.
That's right. From in here.
All right. So there's a rating system for players. It's between 1 and 5, right? Players with a higher rating on that scale are thought to have more likelihood of medical issues, so to speak.
Mhm.
Right? Okay. There's a doctor that gives 18 teams in the league his rating on guys' medicals. Okay. And I don't know why it's just 18 teams. Don't ask me. I'll try and find out and get you that answer. But he's in contact with 18 teams, and every year he gives out his medicals on guys that have any kind of red flags or whatever to these 18 teams. Okay. From this particular doctor, Will Johnson got a rating of 4 on that scale of 1 to 5. Right. And I hope I'm saying this the right way, Pop. But what they did, or I should say it like this. The doctor that wrote that letter, along with several other doctors outside of this one guy that gives his report to 18 teams, right? Several other doctors gave Will Johnson a 2. This one guy gave him a 4. And it cost him the first round. If this is going to be the approach to players that are coming out of college, players that are dealing with injuries and dealing with things, don't you think it's de-incentivizing players to report injuries, to really deal with, things that could cost them their livelihood, when it's going to end up costing you millions of dollars? If I have some kind of concussion problems or something like that, and I know that if I report this next one, it's going to cost me millions and millions of dollars. The difference between the contract you get as a second round pick and the contract you can get as a top 5 pick. It's going to cause a lot of people to be like, well, I ain't saying nothing. I'm going to hide as much of this as I possibly can.
And they do. I mean, to your point, the concussion piece, yeah. But when it comes to joints and stuff like that, I know they definitely probe it. And it's easy you can't hide that stuff. That's the stuff you can't hide, because when they make you do the tests that you do, I know, the way a leg might wobble, and they watch this stuff. Like, I remember, this is not a pause, Junior, just like, because this is really medical. But when I went for my first interview, my physical, back when I first started in airlines, you had to go to an actual a company doctor. I had to fly to another city and do a physical in front of this guy, cough, all that stuff. And they also tell you squat and walk like a duck. Why? Because they're looking to see if you have an instability in one of your legs, if you had a flexion to get up and down. I had to do a Cybex test.
What the heck is that? When
they put you, like, you know, you do your leg extensions and hamstring curls and stuff like that.
Sure.
You ever seen a movie? Okay, you ever seen the movie Rocky IV, when they had Drago on that machine? It was like, and he was like kicking hard and pulling back hard and kicking hard.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is it adjusts the tension for your leg strength. So you can never like kick it too hard, because if you kick too hard, it makes it heavier. It makes it harder. It resists more.
Oh, wow.
So what that machine reads out is how strong is your right leg versus how strong is your left leg. And then they do it with your arms. And a person there, and she's like coaching like that dude at the combine that does the bench press. Go. And this is for an airline job. So, and I worked inside. I didn't even lift bags. I wasn't even outside doing the ramp.
Jeez.
So, when I say that, because for that, you can't hide to a degree, what those injuries are. They're not going to hook you up to a brainstem test at the combine and do all that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, some things you can hide, some things you can't. But that's what happens to that linebacker that's knee never exploded like they said it was going to. That's why Deion Walker. They said Deion Walker had this been last year, he would have been a first rounder, and that's why unfortunately Will Johnson's got to prove a lot of people wrong this year, because they look at certain things and they say, okay, at that position, his knee does this, his elbow does this, his head does whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
How long is he going to be able to do this for us when we got to pay him millions? And that's what they look at. How long will it sustain before it's a liability to us? What's the long-term risk that we incur?
Yep.
And they just don't care about the people, the players. They're cattle, basically. It's a combine. It's a show. They're out there in the draws and this and third running around. It's a show. It's because all it is let me see his full body. Why do you think they take physique pictures? Remember Tom Brady's physique picture? We had to take his shirt off and everybody clowned him. They do that with everybody because they want to see everything. Turn around, arms out. What's this? What's that? Why is this arm not straight as that arm? And I mean, it might be off by that much. And they look for this stuff because they want any reason to take somebody off their board.
Right.
And that's just the hard fact of how this goes. And that's why when it comes to when you say, pay the players, screw the team. That's why, because the team says screw you until you do something for them. In James Cook's case, proof point. I know we can go back and forth, but that's the hot box issue. He's not going to get paid because he's not doing what the team wants him to do. They don't want to pay him. Right. And so screw you. Go out there and play for me and you're done next year. So why are these guys giving hometown discounts? Why are these guys doing favors? Why are you doing solids when the team ain't doing a damn for you? And that's the thing with this combine thing. They don't care. They don't. They say, we love the guy. We love the kid. He's a culture. Because you're doing something for them. You're keeping their butts in and off his seat. Once you can't do that for them, you see what they said to Keon Coleman. Let him have another year like that.
Yep.
They're going to try to get rid of him.
Yep.
Kyer Elam. He didn't get no chance. Somebody said earlier, he got no chance. They saw early. We don't have time to wait for this. So they moved on.
Yep. And
that's just the nature of this BS game.
Laura says players hide injuries all the time. Josh was asleep on the field last year. Yes, he was. That won't change in college or pros, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're and this is the tough part because the game has suffered from a little league standpoint. I mean, the numbers will tell you the participation is down.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is part of the reason why once you introduce capitalism into sports, because that's what the NFL is. It's a combination of capitalism and sports.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, once you start introducing that realm and introducing people to that realm, it's helpful from the standpoint where, it creates jobs, it creates opportunities for people who can, make lots and lots of money who otherwise probably wouldn't have had the opportunities like that to make that much money.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside of it is the risk to the body and all the things that people do to insulate themselves against loss.
Right.
And that's right, Pop. It is a monopoly. It's absolutely a monopoly. The way the business is run, you know what? I think this is part of the reason why the UFL and XFL have been given life to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Competition is always healthy, but in the same way that what's a good example I could use? Oh my gosh, there's a company that I'm trying to think of that has a monopoly that nobody talks about, and I just cannot think of the name right now. Green Athletics. I know, it's unheard of, right?
Like, what? No way.
Right. But yeah, I mean, look, the name of the game is to maximize as a business, right? And these teams are businesses. You maximize your income while mitigating your loss. That is the primary goal of every business. And if that comes at the cost of, one or two people a year, then so be it. And I'm just speaking from the perspective of, these teams. Like, look, we don't have to give a guy a fair shake. We don't have to give we don't have to. We're paying guys millions of dollars. Why should we? Right? And there's nothing that incentivizes these businesses to operate in good faith. Nothing.
No.
Right? The way they do their contracts, you can break out of them at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will admit, to a degree, that works on the player side too.
Yep.
But players oftentimes don't have nearly as much leverage as teams have. Think about it like this. The NFL is a clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can make a livable income playing football is by playing in the NFL. You can't do it in the UFL or the XFL. You couldn't even do it back in NFL Europe back in those days. The only way that you can play the game you love and make a living off of it is if you are a part of this club. And the club owners are basically saying, if you don't fit this criteria, no entry for you. Now, that does work from the perspective of we make sure we get the best players in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but not from the perspective of giving those best players in the world the best possible ability to succeed and be successful. And that's a shame. It really, truly is a shame.
Yeah.
All right. There was one more thing that I wanted to get to, but I'm not remembering. Pharmaceutical industry. Yeah. Hedge fund, healthcare. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Those are perfect examples. Oh, that's what it was. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn.
Hedge fund healthcare?
Huh?
Hedge fund healthcare?
Well, that reminded me of the
go
company
ahead.
that I was thinking of. So I don't remember the name, but there's glasses, eyeglasses,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are all these different types of brands of eyeglasses and people who make the frames and stuff like that. But all of them are owned by one company. All of them. Every single brand that seems like it might be different from another, all of them, they're all owned by, and when I found this out, I was like, how is this even allowed? Like they basically created a bunch of different shell companies that all work for the same owner. Well, they all work for the same enterprise. They all work for the same business. You get what I'm saying? So it's like that's a lot of the way that the NFL operates. You know, we got all these different, teams, but it's actually one business behind everything, which is the group of owners that run the NFL. Right? They dictate the policies and procedures. A collective bargaining agreement is just the carrot.
Right. That's
just what they dangle to get these players to cooperate and do what they want. Meanwhile, the players are fighting for their lives. You know what I'm saying? So it's the real side of football and the real side of the NFL is very, very harsh.
There's levels to it. Yes, it's a business, and that's the thing about what makes the Bills unique. They I don't want to say a charade, but they talk about the culture, the brotherhood, the love, this, that, and third, and that's just not present in most locker rooms, most front offices, most organizations as a whole. They want to win, and if you can't help us win, you're out of here. I don't care if you just lost your mom, your girlfriend, everybody in the same time. I don't care because that does nothing for me. My bottom line is this: your life doesn't matter, but the Bills, at least on the surface level, say, yeah, that's our brother. We love him. We care about him. We hang out all the time. You just don't get that. And that's why you can gravitate towards this team. That's why people give this team so many chances. That's why people give McDermott and Bean so many chances, because I get it. It's a great thing to have when you can have a unique organization where everybody loves each other. It's fun.
Right.
But at the same time, what are you going to give and what are you going to take?
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually people are going to get to the point where, that good feeling wears off.
Mm-hmm.
They call it that's why they call it puppy love.
Right.
It seems great at first, but if it's not the real stuff, if it's not the real deal, eventually it's gonna wear off.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of fans out there that are getting to that place now. And this is the last point that I want to make about this draft class before we get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
This draft class now puts Sean in a position where it's eat or be eaten, bruh.
Yeah.
You need to go out there and start tearing up the league with your defense, namely in the playoffs. And if you don't with this draft class, my man, we can get somebody else in here.
Yeah.
Well, where Vic Fangio at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We can do that experiment. He give that man a real quarterback with the way he can coach a defense.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. That's a fact. I mean, you look at what they're doing on the back end, especially. They didn't do anything with the safety, but they got three corners, and probably one of them can play safety. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they should be attacking. You know, you should have interceptions, you should have ball hawks, you should have pass defense, you should have things that you didn't see before. A lot of aggressive play. Obviously, that opens it up for it getting beat, but it also opens up for bigger plays. What do you say on Madden? Or not Madden, on college football, where you change the coverage type, aggressive.
Yep.
You get more interceptions, you get more pass defenses, but you also can give a big plays where you go conservative. You don't get the pass interference, the pass defenses, the interceptions, but you won't get beat. But like, which one do you want? You know, when I got the young boys out there, while they're young, I want to see them moving. I want to see them shit. I want to see them being attacked, play with youth and vigor. You know, when you get older, that's when you play a little more conservative, because I don't have the feet I used to have. I don't have to, you know. So I think when you look at where they should be, with Benford being the elder statesman outside of Taron Johnson, they're still young.
Yeah,
they should want to run. This soft zone crap, it's got to go. It's got to go.
Yeah, I agree. Laura said, we clearly saw collusion by NFL management in what happened with Shedeur. The players have started grouping together too, like Cook with running backs trying to raise salaries. Yeah. And it's funny because these two movements they're happening right in front of us. You know what I mean? And I think, like, Laura sees it, you know what I mean? We see it. I don't know how many people are really, like, paying attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that number is increasing, because both sides are going to need somebody to A, bring levity to the conversation, and B, settle it, because it's not going to be the two of them between each other. There's got to be a third party,
mm-hmm.
right? And part of the reason why I am sometimes hard on Bills fans is because ultimately the people with the money are the people with the power, right? The NFL can't survive without us. We like the NFL. We consume the NFL. We enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But the NFL is just like having a motorcycle. It's nice to have. You don't need it.
Right.
You can do without it. And if you decided to sell that motorcycle, you might miss the fun times and the cool days and the, you know, the memories that you had, but it's not going to break you at the end of the day.
Right.
You still got a whole nother life. You got 2 cars. You got a wife and kids. You got a house to take care of. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's life goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But we have to see the game that way. We have to see the NFL that way. As fans, we have to take up our power and start dictating to the NFL.
Yep.
And we can, you know, that's why we go so hard about accountability. The Buffalo Bills are technically employed by us.
Mm-hmm.
We pay those salaries, right? It's like the owner profits from money we pay. But if we decided we wanted to cancel that business, we could do that too.
Watch this, Rob. Welcome. I don't think I've spoken with you before. He said we can do without the NFL. We sure don't act like it as a sports society.
Exactly.
But that's not true though. Because think about it like this: if the NFL wasn't there, something else would show up in its place. UFL. Somebody would watch UFL.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody would watch XFL, and they don't have to pay them no more. But because we've got this thing that we need to see this oblong ball kick through a giant H, as they said, and come into America. And we have to see something. That's why you go to UB. Like UB, if they were good, when they're good, that stadium is full. But they ain't got Notre Dame and Florida State coming out. They see them playing against Marshall and Old Dominion. They're like, we're happy because it's football. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's just football. They just want to see that.
But the perfect example for this is politics. What you just explained happens every year in politics, right? If I'm funding a councilman or something like that, or whatever, senator, you name the position, it doesn't matter. If I'm backing that person and that person is not doing what I want in office, you out. I ain't giving you my money no more.
Right.
You're not gonna get no more funding to run for the next term for me. So if I'm your biggest donor and you ain't getting money from me, chances are you're gonna fail. And what's gonna happen? There's gonna be a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else gonna come in. What's gonna happen from there? What typically happens? Well, I'm gonna go to that new dude and say, hey man, you congratulations on you getting in office.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I like what you're doing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I'd like to see you in here for years to come.
Yep.
I just need you to do a few things for me. You know what I'm saying? Help me out, scratching my back, I scratch yours. You know what I'm saying? Look, I had the same arrangement with the last dude. You see what happened to him when you don't want that to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying you got but this is the power that we have. That's the same power that we have. The same power that these, multi-billionaires have in real life over politicians. It's the same power we have over a sports team.
Yep. Like
you said, it's a sports team. It doesn't have power over us. And the way that people look up to Brandon Beane as a GM, he is our GM. You shouldn't be arguing with him. You should just let him talk and let him say what he gets paid to do that job. I'm sorry. I've heard people that sound way smarter than Brandon Beane that know football that don't have that job.
Right.
It has nothing. Having the job does not mean you're always qualified to have the job. That's why nepotism is a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I have a friend that I trust, that to do what I ask him to do more than some stranger that may or may not have personal issues, I'm gonna go get my friend. Now, is my friend the most qualified? No, probably not. But guess what? I'm gonna give him the job anyway. Give him a shot.
I mean, that's kind of what I say about Capaccio. People hate Capaccio because he's holier than thou because he is the inside track. But what makes him better than you? Steve, Rob, Lynn, any of you guys? What makes him better? Because he works for the team, not because of who he is who he works for. So why is it that when Beane talks, all hail Beane, but when Capaccio talks, he's an idiot? I don't like him. I can't stand it. Why is it that we align on one side in everything they say and align against one side in everything they say just because it's the same thing to me? It's the same. They're the same kind of person, and I can't. I don't understand it. I don't get it at all.
Right. All right. Anything else before we get out of here, bro?
Now we just gonna get in trouble for leaving it only 2,593 people. I was wishing we would get 6 more, but it's cool. It's cool. 7 more. It's cool. It's cool.
But my thing is, Key,
to
the people who stood here the longest, I think they deserve something special.
You think they need it?
I think they need it, brother.
Oh man,
what's that?
I think he's talking about Reese T.
Oh man,
I think he's got to be talking about Reese.
How do we keep ending these shows without Reese?
I don't know.
That's my fault. My fault, man. My fault.
No, it's all good.
I'm gonna need you to get on that, producer.
But you know why you forget?
Right. Why is that?
Because you don't know the ingredients.
What's the ingredients, bro?
It's 1 part delicious.
Wait. My boy Matt C. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Wait. Okay.
Do it.
Brandon Beane is a clown.
In rant.
Yeah.
No said. Brandon Beane is a clown. Okay. I mean, yeah, and that's fine. But
for those of you that didn't
weren't on this show,
Matt C was with us during our draft coverage, and I got into reading all of his comments as if I was him and like very, very angry. So that's why I do that now.
Yeah, he was angry.
C for salt. That's right. No bones. That's right.
Yeah, Reese Tea, 1 part delicious, 1 part refreshing, 2 parts healthy. That's what you can expect when you get yourself a helping of Reese Tea. You can get yourself an individual or the case. Why would you do that? Get yourself the case. 1 is just not enough. I don't even drink tea, but let me tell you, that's a good drink there. And I think Hermes did drink a little bit of Reese Tea. That's why he's refreshed and invigorated.
Yes, sir.
But what do I know about anything that has to do with tea? See for yourself. Head over to Reese Tea. Get yourself that case, and I let them know the Post Podium Podcast sent you.
All right. With that being said, hopefully it's not too loud. Let's see here. All right. That sounds okay. All right, cool. Look, that music is going. OLI's not here. He's probably at work somewhere, so I got a little bit of time, but that means it's time for us to jump out the window. So if you could venture right on over to that link right there. That's our YouTube channel. Okay. And go ahead and hop over there and give us your thumbs. And no, in all seriousness, we really appreciate everybody being with us today. All 2,595 of you. I feel very blessed to have this many people watching us, knowing where we came from and where we started. So thank you so much for tuning in and hanging with us. We're going to continue to do our best to kill it every episode for you guys. But with that being said, We need to know that that you like it. You know, if we don't know if you like it or not, we got to start, you know, tooling around with ideas. We might mess something up, we might not. So let us know if you like what we're doing. Head on over to our YouTube channel. You can give us a heart here on Twitter as well if you're watching us on Twitter. But every little bit helps, and it's awesome. All right, so thank you very much for doing that. Make sure you hit that bell if you're going on YouTube too, so that you can get notifications when we send notifications. Like, see, I don't like doing the music on here because now it's gotta go through the whole process of starting all over again.
Anyway, kept talking, they wouldn't heard it.
They would have heard it. They would have heard it. It. Every little bit matters.
I'd cough. There you go. Get it in there.
He coughed the music at the beginning. Oh, we had 25.98. Oh, we almost there. 25.98.
26. 26.
Yes. Where is it?
They did
it. Thank you. Whoever the 2600th person is, God loves you. No, so I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking. God loves you. But anyway, so look. We got this Madden content coming. We've already started filming it. It's going to be amazing, okay? We got commentary that's going to be done live, not by the game, but by us, okay? And when I say us, I mean the team of people that are working on this thing here. Me and Keyshawn are going to play significant roles. I'm going to be head coach. He's going to be GM. We're going to do post-game press conferences. We're going to take you through roster moves week by week. We're going to go through practice, everything that you want to go through and see during the real NFL season. We're going to try to replicate as much of that. There's going to be some parody. There's going to be a lot of humor. The same way that we are on this show is the same way that we're going to be doing that. But
not negative.
Right, definitely not negative. Let me put the comments back up here. So look, if you're interested in that, you got to get over to it. And I apologize, Laura, Columbus Bully, and Split. I have not done this yet, but I need to go over the membership. Memberships are going down from $4.99 to just $1.49. Okay, I want to make sure that there is no reason that you guys have to be turned off by being a member. All that we want to do is give you guys more access to us, to our content, and being a part of this family that we're building. Okay, so again, if you're interested in all of that stuff, you got to go to our YouTube channel. You got to subscribe, get the notifications and all that kind of stuff. I will put out a notification as soon as I change the prices. Other than that, we'll be back with you guys Friday. All right.
And Spin, I'm gonna treat you like Bean treated Jeremy White and Joe this morning. Just you watch.
All right. This has been the Post Podium Podcast, home of all true Post Podium takes. I have been your co-host, Aramis.
And this was 41, 40. You got to tell me, my 40 keys, 41 keys. I stay there. I want to stay there, but you tell me what you want. All right.
Oh, he still barely hears us over the music. I apologize. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Probably a little too low.
That means you got to start all over again. Do it all over again.
No. All right. Look, in a nutshell, we got big stuff on our YouTube channel. Go check us out there. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit that bell so that you can get notifications. We're changing the price of the subscriptions from $4.99 to $1.49. That's just to make it more easily accessible for everybody that wants to be involved. Maybe sometimes $4.99 is too much, or it's just not, you might not feel like it's worth the investment. So we just want everybody to be able to be involved and enjoy that, right? So you get access to our Discord thread on Discord, which is basically our private chat where you can ask questions, you can have conversations, just throw random thoughts in there or whatever, with and not necessarily have to go through YouTube comments or anything like that, and you don't have to worry about the pressure of trying to direct message us and the awkwardness of that. Like, now there's a platform where you can just be in there, you can speak your mind, and it'll be just like being in the chat, just on an everyday basis, right? So lots of other stuff. You got to go look at our membership program there. And look, there's plenty of content, plenty of free content there. We got Coach D's Corner. We got some reels that are up there too. So go check us out. All right. Like I said, this has been the Post Podium Podcast, home of the all truth, no sodium takes. I have been your co-host, Aramis.
It's 40. keys, one keys, just keys involved. Just keys.
I will send you your 351 back, Laura. I got you. Yeah, we about to start a whole nother month too. All right, we got to get out of here. AO producer, did you go?
Yeah, I did.
All right, cool. All right, y'all have a great night. Peace. Go Bills.